For thousands of years, humanity has been haunted by puzzles that defy explanation, stories woven into the fabric of history, filled with unanswered questions, cryptic messages, and vanished civilizations. From the eerie disappearance of entire populations to the inexplicable phenomena that linger in our myths, these mysteries have withstood time's cruel passage, leaving only fragments of truth behind. What secrets lie hidden beneath ancient ruins? What forces shaped the rise and fall of forgotten empires? Tonight, we embark on a journey through 3 hours of the most bizarre, confounding enigmas that still echo through the ages. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in. In the remote San Pedro Mountains of New Mexico, nestled between rugged peaks and deep canyons, there lies a mystery that has perplexed historians, archaeologists, and adventurers for nearly a century. In 1932, an extraordinary discovery was made, one that would forever alter the way we think about the ancient peoples of North America. Buried within a small cave in the mountains was the mummified body of a man. He was not just any man, but a figure who would become known to the world as Pedro the Mummy. The San Pedro Mountains themselves, vast and untouched by modern hands, have long been a source of intrigue. The land is harsh, unforgiving, and isolated, a place where few wander. But what the mountains hold in their shadows is far stranger than the landscape itself. Amidst the dry air and barren rock, a body, preserved for centuries, if not millennia, lay waiting to be found. The mummy was in remarkable condition, its features still distinct, its clothing intact, as if it had only just been laid to rest. Who was this man? And how had his body come to be entombed in this forgotten cave deep within the heart of the mountains? The answer to these questions is far from clear. The initial discovery was made by a group of treasure hunters, a group who, for reasons unknown, decided to search the mountains for gold and artifacts. Upon entering the cave, they stumbled upon a sight that none of them could explain: an ancient, well-preserved mummy sitting upright in a ceremonial position. Its skin, surprisingly well-preserved, was darkened and leathery, suggesting a long period of desiccation. The body was adorned with intricate clothing and a variety of ornaments that didn't match anything known from local indigenous cultures. For years, the mummy was kept in private hands, its origins and purpose unknown. Speculation ran wild, with some suggesting that Pedro the Mummy was a member of an ancient civilization that predated the indigenous peoples of the region. The intricate clothing and ornaments, which seemed far more advanced than those of nearby tribes, gave weight to these theories. Was this man a traveler from a distant culture, someone whose life ended far from his homeland? Could this be evidence of an ancient connection between the peoples of the Americas and those of distant lands, perhaps even as far as the lost civilizations of Europe or the Middle East? Yet, others argue that the story is far simpler. Some claim that Pedro was simply a member of one of the early indigenous peoples of the area, perhaps a member of the ancestral Puebloans, who inhabited the southwestern United States long before the arrival of European settlers. If this were the case, the preservation of his body could be attributed to the dry, arid climate of the region, conditions that can naturally desiccate a body, halting the process of decomposition. Still, the evidence doesn't fully support any one theory. The mummy's clothing and adornments do not match the expected patterns of the ancestral Puebloans, and there are no clear records of a burial tradition involving mummification in this region during the time the body would have lived. Could it be that we are missing an entire chapter of history, one that would illuminate the existence of a culture we have yet to discover? Or is the mystery of Pedro the Mummy simply a case of a lost figure whose history is now obscured by time? Adding to the intrigue is the oddity of the mummy's position. The body was discovered sitting upright in the cave in what appears to be a ceremonial posture, suggesting that the man was buried deliberately and with purpose. Was this an intentional act of reverence, or was it a symbol of something far older and more enigmatic? perhaps even a ritual that was practiced by a civilization long lost to the sands of time. Some have proposed that Pedro the mummy could even be a victim of a strange and little understood practice of ancient embalming, possibly even dating back to times as far as 500 BC, when mummification practices were already being developed in other parts of the world. Could this suggest a cultural exchange between distant civilizations, or is it simply another example of the deep mysteries that remain buried in the earth? Pedro's story, like so many ancient enigmas, leaves us with more questions than answers. What we do know is that the San Pedro Mountains, as remote and inaccessible as they may seem, still hold the whispers of the past, whispers that beckon us to look deeper, to search further. But even as we uncover fragments of answers, we are left to wonder, what else might still lie hidden in the shadows, waiting to be discovered? As with so many ancient mysteries, the truth of Pedro the mummy may be lost forever, waiting for a future generation to uncover. Or perhaps simply waiting for the next person brave enough to venture into the mountains and search for answers that might still lie hidden beneath the dry desert soil. From the rugged mountains of New Mexico to the deep, windswept deserts where ancient bodies are preserved, our exploration of history's most bizarre mysteries has led us to a different kind of enigma, a vanishing island, lost in the vast expanse of the Gulf of Mexico. This is the tale of Bermeja Island, an island that might not even exist anymore, or perhaps never did. For centuries, Bermeja Island was marked on maps as a small speck of land, located roughly 100 miles off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The island's existence was first recorded by European explorers as early as the 16th century. It was small, likely no more than 2 to 3 square miles in size, but it was there, perched within the waters of the Gulf, somewhere between Mexico and Cuba. For the longest time, Bermeja was a part of international discussions, as its position seemed to influence the maritime boundaries between nations, especially in the rich oil reserves of the Gulf. But something strange happened. In the late 20th century, after decades of being included on maps, Bermeja Island mysteriously disappeared from modern charts. The island, once clearly marked on nautical maps, could no longer be found. Satellite images, sonar scans, and expeditions sent to locate it turned up nothing but empty sea. How could an island vanish without a trace? The initial explanations were not so extraordinary. Some scientists suggested that Bermeja had simply eroded away over time, a victim of rising sea levels and natural processes. Others speculated that it could have been submerged due to tectonic shifts or underwater landslides. But these explanations only raised more questions. Why, if the island had truly existed for hundreds of years, had it suddenly disappeared without any warning signs? And why was it still present on maps drawn as recently as the 1950s, only to vanish so suddenly in the decades that followed? The mystery deepens when we consider the geopolitical context. Bermeja Island was not just a point on a map. It held significant value. In the Gulf of Mexico, beneath the waters that surrounded it, lay vast reserves of oil. In fact, the location of Bermeja was crucial for establishing maritime boundaries and determining exclusive economic zones between Mexico and the United States. The discovery of Bermeja's disappearance came at a time when both nations were embroiled in tense discussions over access to these resources. Some have speculated that the island's vanishing act was not a natural occurrence at all. Instead, there are those who believe that Bermeja never really existed as a landmass in the first place. Could it have been a mere navigational error, an artifact of early map-making? Some early explorers, after all, were known to make mistakes when charting unknown territories, sometimes misplacing islands or misjudging their size and location. In this theory, Bermeja would have been the result of a cartographic miscalculation, a phantom island created by confusion and poor navigation. But even this explanation fails to account for the island's continued appearance on maps over the centuries. From Spanish explorers to British and American cartographers, Bermeja remained a fixture of the Gulf for hundreds of years. And it wasn't just the island itself that intrigued people, it was the very idea of its disappearance. If an island could vanish so completely, what else might be lost, erased from history by the passage of time or human intervention? Some fringe theorists have taken this mystery even further, suggesting that the disappearance of Bermeja Island is not an error, but a deliberate act. Could the island have been removed, erased from maps and memory by political forces? The theory hinges on the strategic importance of Bermeja to both Mexico and the United States. By eliminating it, it's argued, both nations could have claimed a larger portion of the Gulf, particularly its oil-rich waters. But no evidence has ever surfaced to support the idea that this was a calculated conspiracy. The idea remains purely speculative, a shadow of a possibility with no concrete proof to support it. There are, of course, other theories. Some believe that the island's disappearance is tied to environmental factors, climate change, erosion, or seismic activity. The idea that an entire island could disappear due to natural causes, though not impossible, remains unsettlingly elusive. And then there is the more fantastical explanation, one that plays into the realm of folklore and mystery. The possibility that Bermeja Island was never a real place at all. Perhaps it was a creation of myth, a vestige of early navigational folklore passed down through centuries, a mirage of the sea, a place of speculation and mystery that never had a true existence in the first place. The disappearance of Bermeja Island is one of those rare cases where the lines between fact and fiction blur, leaving only questions in its wake. Why has this island, so significant in maps and history, been wiped from the face of the Earth? What could explain its sudden disappearance in a world of high-tech satellites and detailed oceanic mapping? Despite the numerous investigations and theories, we are no closer to understanding what happened to Bermeja. Modern explorers continue to search the waters of the Gulf, hoping to uncover the truth, but so far, the mystery remains unsolved. Could the island still be out there, waiting to be rediscovered, or has it truly vanished without a trace? As we move forward with our exploration of history's most baffling mysteries, the disappearance of Bermeja Island stands as a reminder of how little we truly know about the world. There are forces at work, whether natural or human, that we still cannot comprehend. In the vast, endless waters of the Gulf of Mexico, Bermeja's shadow still lingers. And until we uncover the truth, the island remains a riddle, a piece of history lost or perhaps never fully found. As we move away from the mystery of Bermeja Island and the eerie silence of the sea, our journey takes us deep into the rugged highlands of the Andes, where ancient secrets have long been preserved in stone. Here, high above the windswept plains of Peru, stands one of the most mysterious and perplexing carvings ever discovered, the Gate of the Gods at Hayu, Marca. This ancient structure, etched into the rock face of a mountain, has puzzled archaeologists, historians, and explorers for over a century. It appears to be a portal, a grand, monumental doorway carved into the sheer rock, framed by intricate patterns and designs. The Gate of the Gods is a striking feature, not just for its scale, but for its unmistakable resemblance to a ceremonial gateway, one that could lead to another world, or at least another realm of thought. The site itself is located in a remote and desolate part of the Andes, near Lake Titicaca, a region long known for its association with ancient cultures and mythologies. The landscape here is harsh, with towering peaks and jagged cliffs that seem to pierce the sky. Yet, in this barren, unforgiving environment, this mysterious gateway stands as a testament to a forgotten people. Its significance, however, remains a source of ongoing debate. At first glance, the Gate of the Gods looks like any other ancient structure, albeit one that is far more striking than most. The carving is an archway, about 7 feet tall, set within a rocky face, with geometric designs and finely chiseled edges. The stone appears to have been meticulously carved, showing a level of precision that suggests the work of skilled artisans. It is, in many ways, reminiscent of the grand gateways and monuments left behind by the ancient civilizations of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and even the Roman Empire, yet the location and style of the carving seem to place it firmly in the context of the Andean cultures of South America, such as the Tiwanaku or the Inca. And yet, there is something that makes this monument stand apart from any known Andean structures. For one, the carving does not seem to align with the traditional motifs or architectural styles of the civilizations that flourished in the region. Its precise geometric patterns, along with the overall design, suggest influences that are not readily attributed to local peoples. Could it be that the Gate of the Gods is the work of a long-lost civilization whose origins remain shrouded in mystery? Or, perhaps more tantalizing, could it have been constructed by a people who were in contact with distant cultures far beyond the Andes? Some scholars have pointed to the similarities between the Gate of the Gods and other ancient sites around the world. There are striking resemblances to ancient doorways and gates found in Egypt, especially in the way the arch is designed, and the deep, almost ritualistic carvings that surround it. Could it be that these civilizations, separated by thousands of miles of ocean and time, shared similar architectural traditions? Or is this a case of much older, lost knowledge passing down through generations, like whispers across the centuries? But the mysteries do not end with the carving itself. There are those who believe the Gate of the Gods is not merely a symbolic representation, but an actual portal, a doorway to another dimension or realm. The name itself, the Gate of the Gods, evokes a sense of the supernatural. For many, this is more than just a relic of a forgotten people. It is a link to an ancient belief system that transcends the material world, one that may hold the key to understanding the enigmatic cultures that once thrived here. Is this a site of worship, a celestial gateway, a place of cosmic significance where the lines between this world and the next are blurred? Some fringe theorists suggest that the Gate of the Gods is not just a man-made structure but a remnant of extraterrestrial influence. According to this theory, the precision of the carvings, the alignment of the structure with certain celestial bodies, and the apparent lack of comparable examples in Andean archaeology point to an influence beyond that of human civilization. Was the gate built by ancient visitors from the stars? Did they impart their knowledge of advanced construction techniques to the people of the Andes, perhaps to help them build a gateway to the heavens? While there is no concrete evidence to support such claims, the theory persists, fueled by the popular notion of ancient astronauts who may have visited Earth long before recorded history. The Gate of the Gods, with its strange, otherworldly design, becomes, in this context, more than just a curious monument. It becomes a symbol of a hidden past, one that stretches far beyond the boundaries of human understanding. Others have more grounded explanations for the structure, pointing to its possible religious or ceremonial significance. Many believe it was built as a portal for initiations or rites of passage, a place where leaders or priests of ancient civilizations could commune with the gods or make offerings to the spirits of the mountains. The Tiwanaku, who lived near the site, were known for their advanced stoneworking skills, as well as their complex religious practices, which often revolved around celestial movements. Could this carving be a reflection of their spiritual beliefs, designed to mark the passage of time or to honor the forces of nature? The surrounding area, with its many other enigmatic ruins, also lends weight to the idea that the Gate of the Gods was part of a larger, sophisticated ceremonial complex. The region of Hayu Marca itself is dotted with other strange stone carvings, as well as structures that suggest it was a site of significant importance for ancient Andean cultures. Was this gateway, then, a central part of their religious landscape, a sacred threshold that divided the world of the living from that of the divine? In the end, the Gate of the Gods remains a tantalizing enigma, one that refuses to reveal its true purpose. Its exact origins remain uncertain, and its meaning is open to interpretation. Was it a relic of a civilization we have yet to fully understand? A place of worship or a ritualistic monument? Or is it something far stranger, a doorway to an ancient truth we are not yet ready to grasp? As with many of history's most bizarre mysteries, the Gate of the Gods invites us to question everything we think we know about the past. Perhaps, like the people who carved it, we are standing at the threshold of something far greater, waiting for the answers to reveal themselves. As we leave behind the high Andes and the Gate of the Gods, our journey continues across the rugged terrain of Peru, where another incredible mystery awaits, one that spans thousands of years and stretches across a sprawling landscape. Deep within the dense jungles of the Peruvian Amazon, hidden among jagged cliffs and rolling hills, lies the Pusharo Petroglyph Megasite, a vast collection of ancient rock carvings that defy explanation. The Pusharo site, tucked away in the remote regions of the Peruvian rainforest, is not easily accessible. Its discovery is relatively recent. Only in the 1980s did researchers stumble upon the extensive network of petroglyphs that adorn the rocks. But what they uncovered was nothing short of extraordinary. Over 500 carved images, spread out across miles of cliffs and boulders, each one more perplexing than the last. At first glance, the petroglyphs appear to be little more than intricate patterns, swirls, spirals, and geometric shapes etched into the stone with remarkable precision. But as you step closer, a more mysterious image begins to emerge. Images of human figures, strange animals, and what appear to be hybrid creatures, some with features that blend human and animal forms, others with features that seem completely alien to our understanding of the natural world. The carvings are startling in their complexity, as though they were meant to convey something profound, a message or a story that time has long obscured. What makes Pusharo especially intriguing is the unusual nature of the figures. Unlike other petroglyphs found in the Andes or the wider Amazon region, the carvings at Pusharo don't appear to follow the established artistic traditions of the ancient cultures that once inhabited Peru, such as the Nazca or the Inca. Some of the figures depicted in the petroglyphs resemble beings with large, round eyes and elongated heads, leading many to speculate about their meaning. Are they representations of gods or spirits? Some have even suggested that the strange features resemble depictions of extraterrestrial beings, a theory that has drawn comparisons to the famous Nazca lines, another mysterious phenomenon in the region thought to have been created by ancient civilizations. The overwhelming sense of otherworldliness that radiates from these carvings has spurred numerous theories. Could these petroglyphs be depicting ancient visitors from the stars, beings who traveled across vast distances and left their mark on Earth as evidence of their presence? This fringe theory, though speculative, is fueled by the peculiar characteristics of the carvings, as well as the remote and isolated location of the site. How else could one explain the depiction of such strange, otherworldly figures on rocks far from any known civilization? Yet there is no concrete evidence to support the idea of extraterrestrial influence. The mainstream academic view is far more grounded. Many archaeologists and researchers believe that the Pusharo petroglyphs were created by the pre-Inca cultures of the region, possibly by the mysterious Chachapoya people, who once inhabited the cloud forests of northern Peru. These ancient cultures were known for their remarkable achievements in architecture, art, and spirituality, and the petroglyphs at Pusharo could very well have been created as part of a religious or ceremonial tradition. Indeed, some of the carvings appear to depict scenes that might have had symbolic or ritualistic significance, such as figures in ceremonial poses, images of animals, and designs that suggest astronomical knowledge. In this view, the petroglyphs could represent gods, spirits, or mythical creatures that were central to the belief systems of the Chachapoya or other ancient cultures. The region around Pusharo is rich in archaeological sites, many of which are associated with these mysterious civilizations, and it's entirely possible that the petroglyphs are a reflection of the deep spiritual and cultural beliefs that permeated the lives of these people. But while this theory is plausible, it does little to explain some of the more peculiar aspects of the petroglyphs. The blending of human, animal, and seemingly fantastical forms in the carvings suggests that the creators of these images were operating in a realm of symbolism and myth far beyond our comprehension. Could these creatures be representations of gods or spiritual beings? Or do they tell a more complex story, one that reflects the vision of a civilization whose understanding of the world transcended the ordinary? Another theory that has surfaced involves the idea that the petroglyphs may have been created by a lost civilization that predated even the Chachapoya. Some suggest that the Pusharo site could be a remnant of a much older culture, perhaps one that was wiped out by natural disasters or internal conflict. This would explain the lack of direct connections between the site and known ancient civilizations in the region. Could Pusharo be the last trace of a people who left behind only these cryptic images as their legacy? If this is the case, then the carvings could represent the collective memories, beliefs, and myths of a civilization long lost to history. Yet, as with many ancient sites, the true meaning of the petroglyphs at Pusharo remains elusive. What story are these carvings trying to tell? Are they the product of religious or spiritual beliefs, a cosmic representation of the world as the creators saw it? Or are they something far more complex, a record of a civilization that understood the natural and supernatural worlds in ways that we are only beginning to grasp? The ambiguity of the petroglyphs only deepens the mystery, leaving us to wonder whether we will ever truly understand their purpose. The strange and isolated location of the Pusharo site only adds to its mystique. Situated in one of the most remote parts of the Amazon, the petroglyphs are difficult to access, and the surrounding jungle is thick with vegetation. Could this have been intentional? Was this a sacred site meant to be hidden away from the world? Or is the site's inaccessibility simply a result of time and nature reclaiming what was once a focal point of human activity? The mystery of Pusharo is a reminder of how much of our past remains hidden, lost to time, obscured by the impenetrable jungles of the Amazon, and shrouded in the mist of ancient myths. As we continue to unravel the layers of history, we are left with more questions than answers. What secrets do these strange carvings hold? Are they a glimpse into the distant past? Or are they a key to unlocking a deeper understanding of the mysteries that still haunt us? The answers may be buried in the stones themselves, waiting for someone to decipher them, or they may remain forever hidden, part of the silent landscape of history. As we leave behind the jungle-carved mysteries of Pusharo, we now turn our attention to the high plains of Bolivia, where a remarkable object has confounded researchers and historians for decades. Nestled near the shores of Lake Titicaca, amidst the windswept hills of the Andean Altiplano, lies an artifact that challenges our understanding of ancient cultures: the Fuente Magna bowl. This seemingly ordinary stone bowl, about the size of a large salad bowl, was discovered in 1950 near the village of Chucuito in the southern region of Bolivia. At first glance, the bowl appears unremarkable, a simple utilitarian vessel crafted from a dark stone with a smooth, polished surface. Yet, it is the inscriptions carved into the side of the bowl that set it apart from anything else in the ancient world. The carvings, resembling a form of ancient writing, have puzzled archaeologists and linguists ever since. What is truly remarkable about these inscriptions is that they are not in any known pre-Columbian script from the Andes. Instead, the characters appear to bear an uncanny resemblance to Sumerian cuneiform, one of the oldest written languages in the world, originating from ancient Mesopotamia over 5,000 years ago. The strange similarity between the symbols on the Fuente Magna bowl and the ancient scripts of Sumer has prompted some researchers to propose an extraordinary theory. Could this be evidence of a connection between ancient civilizations separated by vast distances and thousands of years? The bowl itself, dated to around 1500 BC, predates the Inca civilization by at least 1,000 years, and yet its writing seems to echo the earliest forms of written language found in Mesopotamia. How could this be? Could it be that the creators of the Fuente Magna bowl had somehow come into contact with the Sumerians or other ancient cultures of the Near East? Or could this be a case of parallel development, different cultures independently coming up with similar writing systems? The mystery deepens further when we consider the peculiar imagery on the bowl itself. While the inscriptions bear the most immediate intrigue, there are also stylized depictions of animals and figures on the surface of the bowl. Some of the motifs have been interpreted as representing symbols of the Andean culture, such as serpents or jaguars, creatures that were of great spiritual significance to the peoples of the Andes. Yet the manner in which these figures are depicted, particularly the intricate line work, resembles nothing seen in other artifacts of the region. Could this suggest a deeper connection to the civilizations of the Near East, or perhaps a lost, unknown culture that bridged the gap between two distant worlds? The question of how such a bowl, with its curious blend of iconography and writing, came to be in Bolivia has sparked a variety of theories. One of the most fascinating and controversial suggests that the Fuente Magna bowl is evidence of transoceanic contact long before the time of Columbus. Some proponents of this theory argue that ancient civilizations, such as the Sumerians or Egyptians, were capable of long-distance sea travel, and that they made their way across the oceans, reaching the Americas long before the arrival of European explorers. Could the writing on the Fuente Magna bowl be the mark of these ancient visitors, suggesting that they shared their knowledge and culture with the indigenous peoples of South America? However, there is no conclusive evidence to support this theory, and most mainstream scholars are skeptical of the idea that such early civilizations had the means to make transoceanic voyages. While it is true that some ancient cultures had impressive knowledge of navigation and astronomy, the distances involved in crossing the vast oceans of the world would have been nearly insurmountable with the technology available at the time. Still, the similarity between the script on the bowl and ancient Mesopotamian writing cannot be easily dismissed. Could this be a coincidence? Or is there a deeper, more complicated history of cultural exchange that we have yet to fully uncover? Another, more grounded theory proposes that the Fuente Magna bowl was created by one of the many early Andean cultures, such as the Tiwanaku, who lived near Lake Titicaca long before the rise of the Inca Empire. The region around Lake Titicaca is known for its impressive archaeological sites, including the ancient city of Tiwanaku, which is considered one of the oldest and most advanced civilizations in South America. Could the bowl be a product of this culture, its inscriptions a form of proto-writing that eventually evolved into the sophisticated systems used by later Andean civilizations? This would suggest that the script on the Fuente Magna bowl was an indigenous development, rather than a foreign influence. Yet, even this explanation fails to fully account for the striking similarities to Sumerian cuneiform. If these symbols were a unique Andean creation, then why do they resemble a writing system that was already in use thousands of miles away in a completely different part of the world? Some have suggested that the similarities are purely coincidental, an example of independent invention in different cultures. After all, the human mind is capable of arriving at similar solutions to similar problems, regardless of geography or time period. But the sheer specificity of the resemblance between the two writing systems raises questions that cannot be easily dismissed. The Fuente Magna bowl presents us with a compelling puzzle, one that challenges our conventional understanding of ancient history. Was this a product of a lost Andean culture, or does it suggest a much older, more interconnected world, one in which distant civilizations were capable of far-reaching contact and exchange? Or is it simply the result of ancient peoples independently developing similar symbols to record their thoughts, myths, and beliefs? As with many mysteries from the distant past, the Fuente Magna bowl forces us to reconsider what we think we know about human history. Could there have been more contact between ancient cultures than we have been led to believe? And if so, what else might be waiting to be uncovered, hidden beneath the layers of time? The answers to these questions may never fully reveal themselves, but the Fuente Magna bowl remains a fascinating and enigmatic artifact, one that continues to invite speculation and wonder. As we stand at the threshold of history's forgotten stories, we are left to ask, what other secrets lie buried, waiting to be uncovered, just beyond the reach of our understanding? As we move from the ancient, puzzling scripts of Bolivia, our journey now takes us to a place where stone giants loom in silence, their massive presence raising more questions than answers. Nestled in the foothills of Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, the Baalbek Trilithon Quarry remains one of the most mysterious and awe-inspiring sights on Earth, a place where some of the largest stones ever quarried lie abandoned, untouched by time. At Baalbek, an ancient Roman temple complex, there exists a colossal stone foundation, a megalithic puzzle that has baffled historians, archaeologists, and engineers for centuries. Known as the Trilithon, this foundation consists of 3 massive stone blocks, each weighing between 800 and 1,000 tons, and arranged in such a way that they form the base of a platform upon which the great temple of Jupiter once stood. These stones, more than 2,000 years old, are the true marvel of Baalbek. They are not only enormous, but also seemingly beyond the capabilities of the tools and techniques available to ancient civilizations. What is most astonishing is that these 3 stones, the largest in the world, are not the only enormous stones at Baalbek. In the quarry nearby, the remains of even larger stones have been discovered, some weighing as much as 1,200 tons. Yet, despite their sheer size and weight, these stones were somehow cut, shaped, and moved, possibly over great distances, by an ancient civilization whose methods remain elusive. How, then, did the people of Baalbek manage to create and transport such monumental stones? What kind of tools did they possess, and what kind of workforce was needed to move stones of such staggering size? The mystery of the Trilithon is compounded by the fact that no clear answers have ever emerged. Ancient texts from the period provide no explanation for how these stones were quarried or lifted into place. For centuries, mainstream archaeology has pointed to the ancient Romans as the builders of the temple complex, suggesting that they may have employed vast manpower and primitive cranes or levers to position the stones. Yet the sheer scale of the Trilithon calls this into question. Some scholars have even suggested that the Romans did not actually cut and move the stones themselves, but rather inherited the platform from a much earlier civilization, one with technology and knowledge far beyond anything known in the Roman world. The possibility of an earlier civilization raises the question, could the Trilithon have been the work of a lost pre-Roman culture? Some researchers have speculated that Baalbek's massive stones may have been constructed by the Phoenicians, who were known for their advanced maritime trade and engineering skills. Yet, even these theories fall short of explaining how such colossal stones, some with dimensions that seem more fitting for a modern construction project than an ancient one, could have been cut and transported without the use of cranes, pulleys, or other advanced equipment. One particularly intriguing aspect of the Trilithon is the sheer precision with which the stones were cut. Despite their enormous size, the blocks fit together perfectly. No mortar was used between them, and the joints are so tight that even a knife blade cannot fit between them. This level of craftsmanship suggests a mastery of stoneworking that seems impossible given the era. The ability to carve, shape, and position such massive stones with such exactitude raises further questions about the technological capabilities of the people who built them. Could there be a forgotten history of lost technologies that were once used to manipulate and move massive stones? Some fringe theories suggest that the ancient people of Baalbek may have had access to knowledge lost over time, possibly even advanced technologies of levitation or sound manipulation. According to these theories, the large stones could have been levitated or moved using sound waves or electromagnetic fields, a possibility that is both captivating and speculative. Others point to the possibility of extraterrestrial involvement. This theory is rooted in the idea that the precision and scale of the Trilithon are so beyond the capabilities of ancient people that they must have had help from beings from beyond Earth. Proponents of this theory often point to other megalithic sites around the world, such as Stonehenge in England or the pyramids of Giza in Egypt, suggesting that ancient civilizations may have received knowledge from advanced, possibly extraterrestrial visitors. While there is no evidence to support this, the theory persists as a way to explain the incredible feats of engineering found in sites like Baalbek. However, no matter how we attempt to explain the mystery of the Trilithon, there remains one undeniable fact. The massive stones at Baalbek remain a testament to the extraordinary capabilities of ancient peoples, or perhaps to a knowledge that has been lost to time. The mystery of how these stones were quarried, moved, and positioned has led to more questions than answers, and it continues to be one of the most perplexing enigmas in the world of archaeology. Could it be that Baalbek holds the key to understanding an ancient civilization that predated even the Romans, one that possessed knowledge and technology that we have long forgotten? Or is the truth simpler? Perhaps a reflection of the ingenuity and craftsmanship of the Roman engineers who built the temple complex? We may never know the full story behind the Trilithon and its colossal stones. But as we stand before these massive remnants of the past, we are reminded of how much still remains hidden, buried beneath the surface of history. What other mysteries lie dormant in the ruins of ancient sites like Baalbek, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? And what truths will they reveal about the ancient world? Truths that challenge everything we thought we knew about our distant past? For now, the Trilithon at Baalbek remains an enigma, an awe-inspiring, silent monument to the ancient world, and a mystery that continues to haunt us, even as we search for answers. As we move from the towering stones of Baalbek to the storied landscapes of early America, we encounter a mystery that quietly emerged amidst the rapid expansion of a young nation, one that remains unsolved, buried beneath the earth, and left to stir the curiosity of historians and archaeologists alike. It is the strange discovery of the Dorchester pot, unearthed in 1851 in the small town of Dorchester, Massachusetts. A find that has sparked questions about ancient presence in America long before the first European settlers arrived. On a chilly spring day near the banks of the Neponset River, a man named George H. Tilden was digging a well on his property. As his shovel struck the earth, he unearthed an unexpected object, something that was neither of the land nor the time. Buried more than 20 feet beneath the surface, Tilden's shovel struck a large clay pot. But this was no ordinary pot. It stood nearly 2 feet tall, thick and heavy, with a strange, finely crafted design that suggested a level of craftsmanship far beyond the simple, everyday pottery of colonial America. Upon closer inspection, the pot revealed an even stranger discovery. Inside, Nestled in its depths were hundreds of tiny gold and silver coins, most of them Roman in origin. At first glance, the find seemed to be an incredible anomaly. How could these ancient, foreign coins, dating back to the Roman Empire, end up in a pot buried so deep in the soil of 19th century Massachusetts? The questions that followed were immediate, and the implications of this discovery rippled out, raising more mysteries than it could ever hope to solve. The coins themselves were primarily from the Roman Empire, dating back to around 100 BC to 100 AD, and they appeared to be in surprisingly good condition. Some were minted by emperors known in history. Others were less familiar, with strange symbols or inscriptions. The pottery was similarly unusual, bearing no markings or design typical of known Native American or early colonial pottery styles. The materials and craftsmanship suggested that it was far older than anything the local settlers might have produced. The find was swiftly reported to the local authorities, and a small excavation took place around the site, but the pot and its contents quickly disappeared into the hands of private collectors. Some suggest that the discovery was downplayed due to its potentially disruptive nature, as it threatened to overturn accepted narratives about the history of the Americas. Could there have been visitors to this land long before Columbus arrived in 1492? Could the coins have been brought over by ancient civilizations in a way that defies conventional understanding of history? At the time of the discovery, many in the town of Dorchester believed that the pot might be a hoax, a product of someone's imagination, or perhaps a modern artifact planted in the ground to confuse the people. Some skeptics believed that the pot had been buried by someone in the 18th century, possibly a settler, as an attempt to replicate an ancient relic, a relic that would hint at a grander past than their small community had known. But the oddity of the find, the clay pot itself, the ancient coins, was too strange to dismiss as a simple trick. The mainstream explanation, however, points to the pot as either a relic from an unknown pre-Columbian group, possibly some form of early transoceanic travelers, or simply an inexplicable outlier in the archaeological record. Some theorists have suggested that the pot and coins were the result of ancient travelers reaching the Americas long before the age of exploration. The idea of pre-Columbian transoceanic contact is a theory that has long been debated, and while many scholars dismiss it outright, there is a persistent undercurrent of interest. Could this pot, this vessel of mystery, be a tangible remnant of an ancient trade route that connected the old world with the new, thousands of years before Columbus? While there is no evidence to suggest that the Romans or other ancient cultures made direct contact with the Americas, the possibility of transoceanic contact remains tantalizing. In the past few decades, discoveries like the Peary Race map, an ancient map that depicts parts of the Americas with surprising accuracy, have fueled this theory, hinting that ancient civilizations might have had maritime knowledge capable of crossing the vast oceanic divides. Could it be that the Dorchester pot is evidence of such contact? Proof that the ancient world's reach extended farther than we have ever believed? On the other hand, some skeptics argue that the find was simply the result of ancient hoarding or a trade item lost in the region by more recent settlers. Given that the area around Dorchester had a long history of European settlements, particularly by the English, it's conceivable that some of the coins may have arrived with early traders or were buried by colonists who sought to protect valuable objects during times of war or uncertainty. But this still doesn't explain the pottery's design, nor the relatively unknown coins, which continue to baffle numismatists and archaeologists. Interestingly, other similar discoveries have emerged in different parts of North America, each of which raises more questions than it answers. Ancient artifacts that seem out of place, coins from distant lands, and mysterious relics found deep in the earth all suggest that there is far more to the early history of the Americas than we have yet discovered. Could it be that there are entire chapters of pre-Columbian history hidden beneath the soil, waiting to be uncovered? Or is the Dorchester pot simply an outlier, a singular anomaly that defies explanation? The story of the Dorchester pot remains just that, a story. While some historians consider it a fascinating but unproven artifact, others continue to search for answers, eager to understand how it came to rest beneath the soil of 19th century Massachusetts. What is certain is that the discovery remains one of the most curious and unexplained relics from early American history. As we stand in the quiet of Dorchester, with its tranquil streets and bustling communities, we are left to wonder, what is buried beneath our feet, and how much more of history lies hidden, waiting to be uncovered? The Dorchester pot, with its enigmatic coins, its mysterious origins, and its tantalizing possibilities, reminds us that history is never as simple as it seems. There may be secrets in the earth waiting to challenge everything we think we know about our past. From the depths of ancient American soil to the quiet corners of forgotten history, we now turn our attention to a place where the earth itself seems to whisper secrets of a past long submerged beneath the waves. Located off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, lies a submerged mystery that has captivated the imagination of divers, archaeologists, and theorists for decades: the Yonaguni underwater cavern system. This underwater formation, discovered by a local diver named Kihachiro Aratake in 1986, has sparked a storm of speculation ever since. What first appeared to be a curious rock formation quickly became a focal point for debates on ancient civilizations, lost technologies, and the ever-present question of human history's true timeline. Situated about 25 meters, 82 feet, beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean, the Yonaguni structure is a series of terraces, sharp angles, and flat surfaces carved into the natural bedrock of the sea floor. To the untrained eye, it might appear as though the hand of a master builder, long forgotten by time, had left behind a monumental structure. At the heart of the site is a massive platform, one that seems to resemble a pyramid-like step structure, unlike anything found in the natural world. Nearby, steep, narrow paths cut through the rock, as if deliberately fashioned for passage. Perfectly aligned corners and flat surfaces seem almost too regular to be the result of natural processes. And though the formation is still in dispute among scholars, it remains one of the most fascinating and enigmatic underwater sites ever discovered. The mainstream scientific community tends to favor a natural origin for the site, explaining the unusual features as the result of tectonic shifts, underwater erosion, and natural rock formations shaped by thousands of years of environmental forces. According to this theory, what we see at Yonaguni are merely the results of nature's gradual sculpting of the landscape, a process over millennia that can sometimes resemble the work of human hands. The idea of large, flat terraces and well-defined steps being the product of purely natural forces is not beyond the realm of possibility. After all, the power of water, time, and geological activity can create remarkable and almost otherworldly shapes. However, the evidence, both the precision of the shapes and the sheer scale of the structure, has led some to question whether these formations could truly be the product of natural erosion alone. Could it be that humans, perhaps from an ancient lost civilization, once built these structures, and over the millennia, they became submerged beneath rising sea levels? Some researchers believe that the site might be the remnants of a megalithic city, lost to time and swallowed by the ocean's relentless advance. But if this is the case, then who were the people who built it, and when did they live? The most famous theory surrounding Yonaguni is that it could be the remains of an ancient civilization, one that existed long before the first known civilizations of Sumer, Egypt, or the Indus Valley. Some proponents of this theory suggest that Yonaguni could be the remnants of Mu, a mythical continent that is said to have once existed in the Pacific Ocean, a sort of lost civilization similar to Atlantis. The concept of Mu has been popularized by writers and theorists, but there is no definitive historical evidence to support the existence of such a civilization. Still, the allure of the idea remains powerful, particularly when considering the scale and sophistication of the Yonaguni structure. Could it be that this submerged site is the last trace of a once great people, their culture erased by the passage of time and the rise of the sea? As evidence for this theory, advocates point to the precision of the stonework. While natural formations can indeed take on geometric shapes over time, the symmetry of the terraces, the apparent straightness of edges, and the sharpness of the corners are difficult to dismiss. Some sections of the formation appear to have been deliberately shaped, as though someone had planned and carved the rock to create a functional structure. The presence of what appears to be a staircase or stepped terraces is equally puzzling. Could these formations have been crafted by a civilization that possessed knowledge of architecture and stonework far beyond the capabilities of the people who lived in the area at the time? Interestingly, the submerged site's position is also noteworthy. Yonaguni lies near the Ryukyu Islands, an area with a rich history of seafaring peoples. Could the structures be the remnants of a long-lost maritime civilization that had the capability to construct elaborate stone edifices? There are also theories that suggest the site may be aligned with the stars or ancient astrological markers, hinting that it might have served a ceremonial or religious purpose. Yet, despite these tantalizing ideas, no definitive proof exists to support the notion that Yonaguni is the work of an ancient, advanced civilization. Mainstream archaeologists have been hesitant to fully embrace this theory, with many suggesting that the sharp angles and rectangular formations might simply be the result of the natural breakage of sandstone, an occurrence that happens when the rock is subjected to immense geological pressures over time. In this view, the steps and terraces could be nothing more than the result of faults and cracks in the rock being exaggerated by underwater erosion. And then there is the question of time. How old is the Yonaguni site really? Could it date back to a time when the sea levels were lower and the land was above water? If this site was once part of a much larger, now submerged landmass, what other structures might be waiting to be discovered, hidden beneath the waves? Complicating matters further are the murky waters of the Pacific Ocean around the site, which make it difficult for researchers to study the formations in detail. Despite attempts to use sonar technology and other advanced tools to scan the area, much of the Yonaguni site remains shrouded in mystery. Without definitive evidence to prove or disprove the theories surrounding it, the site remains a powerful enigma. Perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding Yonaguni lies in its continued allure, the sense that there are pieces of our human story still hidden beneath the surface of the sea, waiting to be uncovered. Is this the legacy of a lost civilization, or is it merely a natural formation shaped by the relentless forces of the earth? The Yonaguni underwater cavern system may never reveal its true secrets, but it forces us to reconsider the history of human civilization, to wonder how much of the past remains submerged and how much still waits to be rediscovered. What if, as the oceans rise and fall, ancient histories are slowly slipping out of our reach, hiding in the depths? And what else could we find if only we had the tools to search just a little deeper? The mystery of Yonaguni remains, an enduring question at the bottom of the ocean, beckoning us to dive further into the unknown. As we leave behind the sunken stones of Yonaguni, our journey now takes us to the rolling hills of Scotland, where a peculiar and ancient relic lies buried in the earth, hidden beneath the passing ages. In the heart of Cochno, just outside Glasgow, there exists a stone, seemingly unremarkable, yet imbued with profound mystery. It is known as the Cochno stone, and etched upon its surface is what some believe to be one of the earliest and most intricate astronomical maps ever discovered. The Cochno stone itself is a massive, flat sandstone boulder, roughly 6 meters long and 3 meters wide. Its surface is covered with a series of abstract carvings, patterns, lines, and symbols, arranged in a manner that suggests intentional design. It was first uncovered in 1887, though it had been partially buried in the earth for centuries, and even longer if we consider the possibility that it had been forgotten or obscured by natural elements. For years, the stone was left undisturbed, but as archaeologists and researchers began to examine it more closely, something intriguing began to emerge. An object not just of art or decoration, but perhaps a map or chart, encoded with information far more complex than any of its creators could have imagined. On its surface, researchers have identified a range of geometric patterns, circles, spirals, and concentric rings, along with straight lines and crosshatching. Some of these symbols seem to mirror the alignment of the stars in the night sky, while others appear to be more abstract or even symbolic. At the center of the stone, one large circular pattern stands out, surrounded by smaller circles, intersecting lines, and what seem to be representations of celestial bodies. The arrangements bear an uncanny resemblance to constellations or early forms of astronomical charts, suggesting that the ancient people who carved them might have been keenly aware of the heavens above. But while the Cochno stone is certainly a remarkable find, it is its astronomical alignment that makes it particularly enigmatic. The placement of the circles and lines corresponds to certain star patterns, raising the possibility that the stone could have been used as a primitive astronomical map, an early form of a tool for navigation or a ritual object tied to the cycles of the stars and planets. Such a discovery could reshape our understanding of early human astronomy and the ways in which ancient cultures interacted with the cosmos. Given the stone's location near the ancient Clyde River and the relative isolation of the area, one could wonder if the Cochno stone was the work of a local Bronze Age or Neolithic people, perhaps the early inhabitants of what would later become the Celtic lands of Scotland. The date of the carvings is estimated to range between 4000 and 2000 BC, aligning with a time when human societies were beginning to form complex relationships with the natural world. This would place the stone's creators far outside the reach of more famous ancient civilizations, such as Mesopotamia, Egypt, or the Indus Valley, yet no less sophisticated in their understanding of the skies above them. However, it is the stone's very mystery that complicates any simple explanation. The traditional view among archaeologists holds that the Cochno stone's carvings were likely an expression of early religious or spiritual beliefs, perhaps symbols used in rituals designed to connect the people to the heavens, the stars, or the forces of nature. In this view, the patterns are seen as representing important celestial bodies or events, such as solstices, equinoxes, or the movement of the stars. In other words, the carvings might not represent a literal map of the stars, but rather a symbolic chart, a way of depicting the rhythms and cycles of nature and the cosmos that were central to early human survival and understanding. Yet, as is often the case with these types of ancient discoveries, the more we learn about the Cochno stone, the more questions arise. For instance, the patterns on the stone are unlike anything seen in other prehistoric sites around the world. The spirals and concentric circles bear a striking resemblance to similar motifs found in other ancient cultures, such as the megalithic art of Ireland or the sacred geometry used by the Egyptians. Some theorists have even suggested that the Cochno stone could represent an early attempt at recording astronomical phenomena in a way that anticipated later, more formalized star maps, such as the celestial charts created by ancient Greek or Babylonian astronomers. If true, this would suggest a sophistication of knowledge that challenges the conventional view of early human societies as being solely concerned with survival or simple spiritual practices. One particularly intriguing aspect of the Cochno stone is its potential link to the ancient concept of sacred geometry, the belief that certain mathematical patterns, shapes, and ratios hold divine or mystical significance. The arrangement of circles and lines on the stone could be seen as an attempt to encode these universal truths, as though the very structure of the universe itself was embedded in the stone's surface. Such an interpretation opens the door to more speculative ideas, such as the notion that the creators of the Cochno stone had access to a hidden or lost knowledge, perhaps even a knowledge that reached far beyond the confines of their time. One fringe theory that has garnered attention is the possibility that the Cochno stone represents not just an early astronomical map, but an intentional record of knowledge passed down from an advanced civilization, perhaps one with a far greater understanding of the cosmos than we can fathom. This theory posits that ancient cultures were far more connected, and possibly even that they had the means to share knowledge across vast distances. Could the carvings on the Cochno stone be evidence of an advanced astronomical system that originated in another part of the world, brought to Scotland by travelers or seafaring people from distant lands? Such ideas harken back to theories of lost civilizations, those that may have existed in prehistory, perhaps even before the rise of recorded history, and whose knowledge was lost to time, buried beneath the sands of history or submerged beneath the ocean. Others have gone even further, suggesting that the Cochno stone might represent a form of star map, a cosmic blueprint used by an ancient civilization to chart the movements of celestial bodies in relation to the Earth. This theory raises the possibility that the stone could have served as a tool for divination, or even a method for tracking celestial events and aligning human activity with the cycles of the cosmos. If such a function was indeed part of the stone's purpose, it would suggest a culture with a sophisticated grasp of astronomy, one that viewed the stars not as distant objects in the sky, but as active participants in the flow of time and fate. However, as with most mysteries of this nature, the truth remains elusive. Despite numerous studies and excavations, the Cochno stone remains largely a riddle, a fascinating but unsolved puzzle that continues to spark the imagination of those who seek to understand the distant past. Is the Cochno stone simply the work of a long-lost people, who used it as a symbol of their beliefs and rituals? Or does it represent something more, something hidden in the carvings and patterns, something that connects ancient peoples to the stars in ways we have yet to comprehend? As we stand before the stone's surface, with its swirling patterns and ancient symbols, we are left to ponder the vastness of human knowledge and the mysteries that lie just beneath our feet. What if the answers to these questions are hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to rediscover them? Or perhaps, as with so many ancient mysteries, we will never fully unlock the secrets of the Cochno stone, and the celestial wisdom it may contain will remain locked in time. From the windswept hills of Scotland, we now journey to the desolate, sun-scorched plains of Western Australia, where a mystery buried deep in the earth still lingers, unanswered. At Banjawarn Station, a remote sheep station located 800 kilometers northeast of Perth, something peculiar and deeply unsettling was discovered in the mid-1990s. What initially appeared to be a typical piece of Australian wilderness would soon reveal a chilling secret that would leave investigators baffled. Evidence of a potential nuclear explosion, with no clear explanation as to who or what was responsible. Banjawarn Station is an unforgiving landscape, a dry, dusty expanse of desert that stretches for miles, broken only by the occasional rocky outcrop or scattered scrubland. The land is sparsely populated, with little to no human activity for hundreds of kilometers. It is the very definition of isolation, the kind of place where secrets could easily remain hidden for decades, if not centuries. And yet, on this stretch of land, something was unearthed that would raise more questions than answers. In 1993, a British company by the name of WMC Resources was conducting routine seismic tests at Banjawarn Station as part of an exploration for mineral resources. They weren't expecting anything unusual, just the typical geological surveys that take place in remote regions. But when they began reviewing their seismic data, they were shocked by what they found: signs of an extremely powerful underground explosion. The seismic readings indicated a blast equivalent to a nuclear detonation, an event that could not be easily explained by any known natural or man-made occurrences in the area. No tests, no official records, no reports, no military activities could account for this massive explosion, which seemed to defy all conventional logic. The depth and magnitude of the explosion were astonishing. The seismic waves it generated were recorded across the entire region, even reaching nearby cities. The blast appeared to be the result of a deliberate, highly controlled detonation, and yet there was no record of any nuclear testing in the area, at least not in any official capacity. The Australian government, when approached, claimed to have no knowledge of any nuclear tests conducted in the region. The Australian Defence Force also denied involvement, leaving many to wonder who or what was behind this mysterious explosion. As the investigation into the Banjawarn mystery progressed, it became clear that the scale of the event was unlike any ordinary industrial accident or natural phenomenon. The explosion's seismic signature was far too specific and controlled to be an accidental detonation of explosives. This was not the kind of blast that could be caused by a conventional mine blast or an underground gas explosion. The seismic readings suggested something far more powerful, something akin to a small nuclear device. But the mystery did not end with the explosion's sheer scale. In 1995, as more information came to light, a connection emerged between the explosion and an unusual series of events that had occurred several years earlier. Banjawarn Station had once been owned by a man named Geoffrey M. J. Harrison, a reclusive British expatriate who had moved to Australia in the 1980s. Harrison had purchased the property and set up a remote station for his sheep and cattle. However, what seemed like a quiet, unassuming business venture took a strange turn when Harrison suddenly disappeared without a trace in 1994, shortly before the explosion was detected. His disappearance was never fully explained, and despite several inquiries, no one seemed to know where he had gone. Some speculated that Harrison had been involved in some kind of covert activity, possibly linked to illegal or unregistered nuclear testing. Could Harrison have been working with foreign agents or rogue states, operating a secretive nuclear testing facility in the remote outback? Could his disappearance have been part of a larger cover-up, one meant to conceal the true nature of the explosion and its origins? As investigators began to dig deeper into Harrison's background, even stranger details began to emerge. Harrison had reportedly traveled extensively, particularly in Europe and the Middle East, where he was known to have made connections with several shadowy figures. Rumors swirled that he had connections to underground arms dealers, or even intelligence agencies. Had Harrison become entangled in a world of secrecy and subterfuge, one that led him to Banjawarn Station for some nefarious purpose? Or was he simply a hapless landowner caught in the middle of something far larger than he could have ever imagined? To complicate matters further, in 1997, 2 years after the explosion was detected, a group of amateur investigators discovered evidence of a strange metallic residue near the site of the blast, materials that seemed to bear a resemblance to the byproducts of a nuclear detonation. These traces, along with the seismic readings, seemed to point to a nuclear event that had taken place in the desert, hidden from the prying eyes of the world. But where had this explosion come from? Who was responsible for such a powerful event, and why was it kept secret for so long? The possibility of a covert nuclear test conducted by a foreign power quickly gained traction, particularly when some speculated that the explosion could have been linked to illicit nuclear experimentation during the Cold War. There were even theories that the explosion was part of a secret arms race involving countries such as China, Israel, or even the United States, who might have been experimenting with small, low-yield nuclear devices far away from the public's watchful eye. Yet, there is no evidence to support any of these claims. As with many aspects of the mystery, the trail goes cold, and the truth remains buried beneath layers of secrecy. In an attempt to shed light on the mystery, Australian authorities conducted further investigations, but the results were inconclusive. No definitive evidence ever surfaced that could explain the explosion, nor could any links be confirmed between the incident and the Australian government, foreign powers, or illegal nuclear testing programs. Banjawarn Station remained a riddle, its secrets buried in the sand, with few answers to explain what had really happened. As the years passed, the mystery of Banjawarn Station faded into the background, overshadowed by more pressing global issues. Yet, the questions linger. Was this an isolated incident, or is it part of a larger pattern of covert nuclear activities hidden away in the world's most remote corners? Could the explosion have been something more than just an accident? And was Harrison's mysterious disappearance part of a cover-up? The Banjawarn Station nuclear mystery forces us to confront unsettling possibilities. The idea that there may be parts of the world far away from the watchful eyes of international organizations where the rules of nuclear testing and military secrecy are not so easily adhered to. Could this have been an experiment that went wrong, or was it a deliberate act of concealment, one designed to remain hidden from the public eye? The truth may never be fully uncovered, and perhaps that is exactly the point. But as we ponder this remote corner of Australia, we are left to ask, what else might still be buried, hidden beneath the dust of time, waiting for someone to uncover the truth? As we leave the mystery of Banjawarn Station and its hidden nuclear past behind, our journey now takes us deep into the dense jungles of Guatemala, to a site that offers one of the most breathtaking and enigmatic glimpses into the ancient world. The place is San Bartolo, a Mayan archaeological site located at the base of the Maya Mountains, hidden from modern civilization for centuries. Here, deep within the ruins of a once great city, a series of murals were discovered that have left archaeologists and scholars questioning everything they thought they knew about ancient Mayan cosmology and their understanding of the universe. San Bartolo is not a grand city like Tikal or Copan, but it is one of the most important sites for understanding the early Maya civilization. It sits quietly in the lowland rainforest, offering a silence broken only by the sounds of nature. In 2001, a team of archaeologists led by David Stewart uncovered a group of murals that would change the way we view Mayan art and religion. The murals, painted on the walls of a small structure known as Structure 1, depict elaborate scenes filled with gods, animals, and symbolic motifs, each one rendered in vivid colors and precise detail. At first glance, the murals seem like an artistic record of ceremonial life, depicting mythological stories and divine beings from the Mayan pantheon. However, the deeper one looks, the more extraordinary and puzzling the imagery becomes. These murals appear to illustrate a highly sophisticated and complex cosmology, one that might suggest the Maya understood the structure of the cosmos in a way that had not been fully appreciated before. The murals themselves are divided into several distinct panels, with some depicting the creation of the world, while others focus on the birth of the sun and the movement of celestial bodies. One of the most remarkable features of the murals is the central image of a cosmic tree, which is often interpreted as the world tree, a symbol central to Mayan mythology. The tree appears to serve as a bridge between the heavens, earth, and the underworld, linking all three realms together in a visual representation of the Maya's belief in the cyclical nature of life and death. However, it is the cosmological complexity embedded in these murals that has intrigued researchers. The tree itself is flanked by numerous gods, each representing different aspects of the universe: fertility, death, rain, and the sun. Some of these deities are familiar, while others seem to defy conventional understanding, their forms strange and their identities unclear. The scenes are rich with symbolism, with celestial bodies depicted in ways that suggest the Maya had a detailed understanding of astronomy and the movements of the stars. What is particularly puzzling is that some of the depictions do not appear to follow the standard iconography of known Maya gods or mythology. One of the most mysterious elements of the San Bartolo murals is a figure often referred to as the Sun God, or the Maya creation god, whose depiction does not align with the usual portrayals of the Maya sun god, Kinich Ahau. This figure is shown in an almost cosmic context, radiating light and energy in a way that suggests a more abstract and universal understanding of the sun's role in the world. Additionally, there are symbols that do not appear in other known Mayan art, leading some to speculate that the murals might represent a unique, esoteric belief system that existed within a particular sect or community of Maya thinkers, one that may not have been widely known or practiced. The murals also depict an intriguing scene that many scholars believe represents the Maya creation myth, particularly the story of the hero twins, the legendary figures who are said to have descended into the underworld and emerged victorious, creating the world as we know it. However, this representation is unlike any other version of the myth previously discovered in Mayan art. Some of the imagery suggests an even more sophisticated understanding of creation, where celestial forces, rather than just gods and mortals, play a direct role in shaping the world. These unexpected elements have led some researchers to propose that the murals might represent an early form of Mayan religion that was more focused on the cosmos than what we know from later Maya traditions. Some suggest that the creators of these murals may have been part of a religious or intellectual elite who possessed knowledge of the stars and celestial movements that was not shared by the general population. The murals themselves could, in this interpretation, have been a form of sacred knowledge, intended for a select group of initiates who could understand the deeper meaning of the images. In addition to the portrayal of the cosmos, the murals also depict scenes that suggest a complex relationship between the gods, the kings, and the people. In some of the panels, kings are shown in ceremonial settings, performing rituals that are tied to the movements of the stars and planets. These rituals, in many ways, mirror the Maya practice of divination, where rulers would consult the heavens to guide their decisions on everything from war to agriculture. Could the murals be illustrating the role of the king as a mediator between the gods and the people, connecting the divine will to the everyday lives of the Maya? The more one delves into the imagery, the more questions arise. What were the intentions of the creators of these murals? Were they trying to communicate a new vision of the cosmos, one that was more in tune with the forces of the universe than with the specific gods of the Maya pantheon? Was this a radical reimagining of the traditional Mayan belief system, one that blended cosmology with politics? Or was it simply an expression of a local religious tradition that had its own unique understanding of the world? The murals also raise questions about the role of astronomy in Mayan culture. The Maya are known for their advanced understanding of the stars, their meticulous tracking of celestial bodies, and their use of this knowledge to guide their rituals and agricultural practices. However, the San Bartolo murals suggest that there may have been a deeper, more mystical layer to this astronomical knowledge, one that transcended the practical concerns of timekeeping and agriculture. The imagery on the walls of San Bartolo seems to hint at a spiritual dimension to their astronomy, where the movements of the stars were not merely observed, but were understood to be intimately tied to the creation and destruction of worlds. Some researchers have even gone so far as to suggest that the murals represent a lost cosmological model, one that could have influenced later Mayan thought and possibly even other Mesoamerican cultures. Could it be that the San Bartolo murals hold the key to a forgotten chapter of Mayan intellectual history, one that has remained buried for thousands of years? The mysteries of the San Bartolo murals are far from resolved, and as with many great archaeological discoveries, the more we uncover, the more enigmatic it becomes. The question of whether these murals represent a unique, isolated cosmology or are part of a broader and more sophisticated Mayan worldview remains open. The murals offer tantalizing glimpses into a world of gods, stars, and kings, where the line between the divine and the human may have been more fluid than we can imagine. As we stand before the murals of San Bartolo, we are left to wonder, what was the true purpose of these extraordinary images? Were they a guide to understanding the cosmos, or a record of a lost spiritual journey? What other secrets might be hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? The answers, as always, remain just out of reach, and the mystery of the San Bartolo murals continues to haunt us, beckoning us to look closer, dig deeper, and seek the unknown. As we leave behind the myths and mysteries of the Maya and their cosmic artistry, our journey takes us to the heart of ancient Anatolia, where an enigma carved into stone has confounded archaeologists and historians for centuries. Nestled among the ruins of Hattusa, the capital of the Hittite Empire, lies a curious artifact, one that raises questions about the true nature of ancient Hittite culture, their knowledge of materials, and even the very origins of this once powerful civilization. Hattusa, situated in what is now modern-day Turkey, was once a thriving metropolis at the center of the Hittite Empire, which spanned much of Anatolia and parts of the Near East during the 2nd millennium BC. The city was a place of grandeur, with its massive stone walls, monumental gateways, and intricate temples. Yet amid these well-known relics of Hittite power, there lies a far more cryptic object, a green stone disk, the Hattusa green stone, which remains one of the most perplexing and elusive artifacts ever discovered in the region. This disk, which was unearthed during excavations in Hattusa in the early 20th century, is unlike anything else found in the area. Roughly 20 centimeters in diameter, it is carved from a type of green stone that has baffled geologists. The stone, with its smooth surface and polished finish, is completely out of place in the region, leading some to speculate about its origins. The craftsmanship is exceptional, far beyond the typical stone-working techniques known to have been used by the Hittites. But it is the presence of strange symbols and carvings on the surface of the disk that makes the artifact truly extraordinary. The green stone is covered with an array of intricate markings, symbols that appear to be a mix of pictographs, abstract designs, and what may be a form of early writing. Some of these symbols resemble other known Hittite script, while others are completely unfamiliar. The carvings seem to tell a story, perhaps a religious or political narrative, but their meaning remains elusive, despite years of study. Scholars have struggled to decipher the inscriptions on the disk, with some proposing that they represent an early form of Hittite writing, while others suggest that they may be part of a previously unknown system of communication. The most puzzling aspect, however, is the stone's material, greenstone, which is not native to the area and is not known to have been used by the Hittites in their other art or architecture. Where did this material come from? Why was it chosen for this object? And why is it that the symbols on the disk appear to have such significance, yet remain so difficult to interpret? The mystery of the Hattusa greenstone is compounded by the city's own history. The Hittites, a people who are often credited with early advances in metallurgy, language, and law, left behind many artifacts, but none quite like this. Most of their written records, inscribed on clay tablets, are relatively straightforward in their content, recording legal documents, trade agreements and religious texts. The Hattusa greenstone, however, suggests a different type of knowledge, one that may have been used for a purpose far removed from the everyday functions of an empire. Some have speculated that the stone may have been used in religious or ritualistic practices. The Hittites were deeply religious, and their pantheon of gods and deities played a central role in both their public and private lives. Could the symbols on the green stone be part of a sacred text, an ancient ritual guide, or a record of divine will? If so, why was it made from such an unusual material? The answer may lie in the symbolic importance of the stone itself. Perhaps the green stone was chosen for its rarity, beauty, or mystical associations, signaling its sacred nature. Others believe the object could have been a form of astronomical instrument. The Hittites were known to have a deep understanding of the heavens, with records of lunar and solar observations that date back to the 14th century BC. It is possible that the markings on the stone were related to celestial events, a kind of ancient star chart or astronomical calendar. This idea is bolstered by the precision of the carving and the thoughtfulness with which the disc was created, qualities often seen in tools designed for precise observation or calculation. Could this be an artifact that connected the Hittites to their gods through the stars, a physical representation of cosmic knowledge? One of the more speculative theories about the stone is that it could be evidence of early Hittite contact with other ancient civilizations, perhaps even as far afield as Mesopotamia or beyond. Greenstone itself was valued by many ancient cultures, from the Egyptians to the Olmecs of Mesoamerica, and the idea of cross-cultural exchange in the ancient world is not as far-fetched as it may seem. Could the greenstone have come from distant lands, perhaps as part of a trade network or through diplomatic contact? And could the symbols on the disc represent ideas or knowledge that the Hittites imported from another culture, one that had a more advanced understanding of writing, mathematics, or astronomy? Even more intriguing are the parallels between the Hattusa greenstone and other objects from the ancient world that have mysterious, unexplained symbolism. Throughout history, there have been numerous artifacts from diverse cultures that feature strange markings or carvings, many of which have defied interpretation. From the Phaistos disc of Crete to the disc of Nebra in Germany, similar objects have prompted scholars to question the limits of ancient knowledge and communication. Could the Hattusa greenstone be part of a broader global mystery, one that connects disparate cultures through their shared interest in the heavens, in writing, or in sacred knowledge? Despite decades of research, the true purpose of the Hattusa greenstone remains a mystery. Its carvings continue to baffle scholars, and its material origin is still unknown. Was it created as a sacred object, a tool for astronomical observation, or something entirely different? And if it was made by the Hittites, how did they acquire the skill to craft such an intricate and polished object from a stone not native to their region? The mystery is compounded by the fate of the stone itself. The artifact, like many ancient treasures, has not been thoroughly studied in recent years, and its current whereabouts are uncertain. Some believe it was taken from the Hattusa site during early excavations and is now lost to history, while others speculate that it might still be hidden in a private collection or museum. If the green stone does resurface, will it provide the answers we've been seeking? Or will it only deepen the mystery? As we stand before this remarkable artifact, we are forced to confront the unknowns that linger at the heart of ancient history. What secrets does this enigmatic object hold, and what truths about the Hittite civilization remain buried with it? The mystery of the Hattusa greenstone continues to haunt us, a reminder that even the most advanced cultures may have left behind objects and knowledge that remain just out of reach, waiting for the right moment and the right mind to unlock their secrets. As we leave behind the enigmatic greenstone of Hattusa and travel across continents once more, we arrive in a remote valley in Bosnia, where another unsolved mystery has intrigued researchers for over a century. In the heart of Visoko, a town nestled in the lush hills of central Bosnia, a series of enormous stone spheres have been discovered that defy explanation. These perfectly round, naturally occurring stones, dubbed the Visoko giant stone spheres, are scattered across the valley floor, and their presence raises more questions than answers. How were they formed? What purpose did they serve? And most importantly, who or what could have created them? The stones, ranging in size from small pebbles to large boulder-sized spheres, are made of a dense, granite-like material that is not native to the region. They appear to be precisely shaped, with some stones achieving near-perfect spherical geometry, suggesting deliberate human or cultural intervention rather than the random work of nature. Over 60 of these mysterious spheres have been uncovered across a wide area, scattered across an ancient fertile valley surrounded by thick forest. Their arrangement and location seem intentional, though their true purpose remains elusive. The discovery of these unusual stones was first reported in the 1930s when a local historian named Fadil Vukilic unearthed one of the spheres during excavation work near the Bosanak River. Vukilic, a man deeply invested in the history of the Visoko area, had been researching the ancient ruins of the Bosnian pyramids, another mysterious feature of the landscape that, even today, is the subject of heated debate among archaeologists. At first, the spheres were dismissed as simply natural formations, like geodes or nodules. But as more were found over the years, the theory of natural causes became harder to accept. These spheres are undeniably unique. Some are as large as 1.5 meters, almost 5 feet in diameter, and their surfaces exhibit intricate markings and ridges. The stone's smoothness and the apparent precision of their shape have led some to theorize that they were created by human hands, while others have pointed to the possibility of a natural, though highly unusual, geological process. The region's geology is not known for producing such perfectly round objects, leading many to speculate that the Visoko spheres may have been artificially crafted and placed deliberately, perhaps as part of an ancient ceremonial or astronomical system. The sharp uniformity of the spheres suggests that whatever force or intelligence shaped them had knowledge of geometry and design. One of the most compelling aspects of these spheres is the fact that some of them appear to have been buried beneath layers of earth, adding to the mystery. Why were they buried in the first place? Could it be that they were hidden intentionally, perhaps for reasons unknown to us today? Some researchers suggest that they may have been deliberately buried to protect them from invaders, or possibly even to preserve some form of sacred knowledge embedded within them. Another intriguing aspect of the stones is their association with the nearby Bosnian pyramids, a site that has sparked worldwide attention, especially since the early 2000s. Some proponents of the pyramid theory believe that the stone spheres may have been part of a larger complex system of ancient rituals, one that tied the geometric shapes of the spheres to the structures of the pyramids themselves. If the pyramids are indeed of ancient, possibly pre-Egyptian origin, as some claim, the connection to the spheres may reveal a deeper cultural or spiritual relationship between the builders of the pyramids and those who shaped the stones. But the question remains: what knowledge could have been encoded in these giant stone spheres, and why is it so difficult to decipher? Some researchers, particularly those associated with the controversial Bosnian Pyramid Foundation, argue that the spheres were part of a system of energy manipulation. The foundation claims that the pyramids and their surrounding features, including the spheres, were designed to harness and amplify natural energy fields that still resonate in the area today. According to this theory, the spheres might have been used as part of a broader system of energy storage or transmission, connected to the pyramid's alleged abilities to concentrate electromagnetic forces from the Earth. However, this theory remains highly disputed by mainstream scholars, many of whom consider it to be pseudoscientific. Skeptics of the pyramid theory point to the natural origins of the spheres and suggest that they may simply be geological formations that were misinterpreted due to their unusual shape. Some argue that the stones could have formed naturally over millions of years, with erosion or other natural processes giving them their spherical appearance. But even these more conventional explanations do not fully account for the large size of some spheres, or the oddity of their near-perfect roundness. If these spheres are, in fact, a product of nature, how did such extraordinary and consistent shapes come to be in this specific location? A number of theories suggest that the Visoko giant stone spheres could also have had some form of practical use. Could they have been tools, used in agricultural rituals, for example, or as part of a rudimentary form of astronomy? Some suggest that their precise geometric shapes might have been designed to serve as markers for celestial events, with the spheres aligning in particular ways to track the movements of the sun, moon, or stars. This would fit with the overall idea that the ancient peoples of the region were deeply attuned to the cosmos, with their architecture and artifacts closely tied to the heavens. Another possible explanation is that the stones could have served as a form of communication or a symbolic object used in religious rituals. Some cultures throughout history have placed great significance on spherical objects, with spheres often seen as symbols of the cosmos or the cycle of life and death. Were these stones used in a ceremonial capacity, perhaps as offerings or as a means of marking important spiritual events? Could the strange markings on the surface of the stones be a form of ancient writing or pictographs, representing something sacred or important to the people who left them behind? Yet, even with all these theories, the most fundamental question remains unanswered. Who created the Visoko giant stone spheres, and for what purpose? Were they made by the ancient inhabitants of the region, or were they perhaps the work of an entirely different, unknown civilization whose existence has been erased from history? Some fringe theorists go even further, suggesting that the stones could be evidence of an extraterrestrial presence or influence, perhaps left behind by visitors from other worlds who imparted advanced knowledge to the people of ancient Bosnia. These ideas are, of course, highly speculative, but they only add to the growing intrigue surrounding the stones. As we ponder the mystery of the Visoko giant stone spheres, we are reminded that, in the search for answers, sometimes the most straightforward explanation is not always the most satisfying. What if, like so many other ancient enigmas, the truth lies somewhere between fact and speculation, hidden just beneath the surface, waiting for a future discovery to shed light on its secrets? And like so many other strange artifacts from the past, the Visoko spheres remain as silent witnesses to a distant, forgotten time, their true story still just out of reach. The mystery of the Visoko giant stone spheres, much like the pyramids that stand nearby, is a puzzle that may never be fully solved. But perhaps that is the very nature of these ancient enigmas. Mysteries that continue to haunt us, inviting us to explore, question, and wonder about the lost worlds that once existed and the secrets they left behind. As we leave the giant stone spheres of Visoko behind, we journey to a different part of the world, one that is equally as enigmatic and captivating, where colossal monuments of stone stand, frozen in time. In the San Lorenzo archaeological site of southern Mexico, a collection of massive stone heads, known as the Olmec Colossal Heads, lie scattered across the landscape, their expressions serene and unknowable. These monumental sculptures, some weighing over 40 tons and standing over 3 meters tall, are not just symbols of the past, but a mystery that continues to baffle scholars and historians. San Lorenzo was one of the most important centers of the Olmec civilization, which thrived in the Gulf Coast region of Mexico around 1200 BC to 400 BC. The Olmec are often referred to as the mother culture of Mesoamerica, with many of their innovations and cultural practices influencing subsequent civilizations like the Maya and the Aztecs. Yet, for all their contributions to history, one question remains unanswered. How did the Olmec transport these colossal stoneheads, some of which weigh as much as 50 tons, from their quarry sites to the ceremonial center of San Lorenzo? The mystery of their transportation has intrigued archaeologists and researchers for decades, and to this day, no definitive answer exists. The heads, made of basalt, were carved from boulders that were sourced from the Sierra de los Tuxtlas, an area over 80 kilometers away from San Lorenzo. The sheer size and weight of these stone blocks, along with the lack of any known sophisticated transportation technology, pose a significant puzzle. How could the Olmec have moved these massive stones across such a great distance, especially without the wheel or draft animals? Even with modern technology, moving such heavy objects would be a monumental task. So how did the Olmec, who lived more than 2,000 years ago, manage to do so without the use of advanced tools? The transportation of the heads is not just a matter of curiosity. It is an essential part of understanding the capabilities and achievements of the Olmec civilization. The effort it would have taken to carve and move these heads suggests a level of organization, labor, and engineering that was unprecedented for the time. Yet no clear evidence exists of how these heads were transported. Did the Olmec use a system of logs and rollers like the ancient Egyptians with their pyramids? Was there a method of flotation or dragging across the land that we haven't yet uncovered? And if so, what tools, systems, or techniques were used? One of the most common theories is that the Olmec used a method of log rolling or log sliding. The basic idea is simple. The stones, once carved into the desired shape, could have been placed on logs, which were then rolled across the ground by teams of laborers. While this method could explain how the heads were moved short distances, it doesn't fully account for the great distances these stones had to travel from their quarries to the heart of San Lorenzo. Given the terrain between the quarry and the site, which includes rivers, dense jungle, and uneven ground, the logistics of such a task seem almost insurmountable. Some archaeologists have proposed that the Olmec could have utilized water transport, perhaps floating the stones down the rivers that traverse the region. The rivers, which were likely vital transportation routes for the Olmec, may have been used to carry the heavy stones to their final destination. Once near the ceremonial site, the stones could have been moved using ramps or other primitive techniques to elevate them into position. But even this theory raises questions. How did the Olmec manage to protect the stones from the damage that would have inevitably occurred during the journey? And how did they lift these massive stones into place once they arrived at the site? Another hypothesis that has been suggested is that the heads were moved by a highly organized system of human labor, perhaps involving teams of workers and a coordinated effort to transport and position the stones. The idea is that the Olmec could have used an intricate system of ropes and pulleys, similar to those employed in later civilizations, or perhaps even human-powered sledges, which would have been dragged by large groups of laborers. The sheer number of people required for such an undertaking suggests that the Olmec had a highly developed social structure, capable of organizing and mobilizing large-scale labor forces. But how much of this is speculation, and how much is based on tangible evidence? Again, the questions remain unanswered. Yet despite these theories, the lack of direct evidence for any of these methods leaves the question open to interpretation. Some scholars have even speculated that the Olmec might have possessed a method of transport that we simply do not understand today. Could they have had access to some kind of advanced technology, perhaps lost to history, that allowed them to move these massive stones with ease? Some fringe theories suggest that the Olmec might have had knowledge of levitation or even extraterrestrial assistance, but these ideas remain highly speculative and lack credible evidence. The mystery of the colossal heads also ties into a broader question about the Olmec and their civilization. What was the purpose of these heads? Why were they carved so large, and why did the Olmec place them in ceremonial centers like San Lorenzo? The heads are thought to represent rulers or important figures within Olmec society, with each one having distinct facial features, possibly reflecting the individual identities of the people they depict. Their large size and solemn expressions suggest they were designed to evoke power, authority, and reverence. But was their purpose solely political, or did they also serve a religious or symbolic role? Could they have been markers of some sort of cosmic alignment, connected to the stars or celestial bodies, similar to other Mesoamerican monuments? And what deeper meaning might they hold for the people who created them? Another intriguing aspect of the heads is the possibility that they were not just works of art, but also symbols of social organization and engineering prowess. The fact that the Olmec were able to carve, transport, and position such massive stones suggests a level of sophistication and communal effort that was far beyond the capabilities of most other contemporary cultures. But what does this tell us about the Olmec themselves? Were they a deeply religious society, driven by the need to honor their gods and rulers? Or were they an advanced civilization with a profound understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering? As we reflect on the mystery of the San Lorenzo colossal heads and their transport, we are reminded of the countless questions that remain unanswered in the history of the Olmec and other ancient civilizations. How were these enormous stones moved? What technology did the Olmec possess that allowed them to accomplish such a feat? And most importantly, what do these colossal heads tell us about the people who created them? With no definitive answers in sight, the San Lorenzo heads continue to stand as silent witnesses to the ingenuity and mysteries of an ancient civilization, their true story waiting to be discovered, if we can only uncover the secrets that still lie hidden beneath the surface. As we leave behind the monumental sculptures of the Olmec, our journey takes us deep into the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, where another mysterious artifact awaits. This one is not a massive stone head or a pyramid-shaped structure, but a simple yet deeply intricate petroglyph. Judaculla rock, named after a legendary Cherokee figure, is a large, flat stone surface covered in an array of enigmatic carvings. To the untrained eye, it might seem like an ordinary rock. But to those who can read the signs, if they indeed have the key to understanding its meaning, Judaculla rock is a map, a story, or perhaps even a guide to something far deeper, older, and more mysterious than we can currently fathom. The petroglyph is carved into a huge slab of soapstone, located in a remote area near the Tuckasegee River in the Smoky Mountains. The site is one of the most significant examples of Native American rock art in the southeastern United States, and it has been the subject of fascination for archaeologists, historians, and researchers alike. The carvings themselves are unlike anything else found in the region, with a mixture of abstract symbols, geometric shapes, and intricate designs that seem to tell a story, or perhaps map out a journey. The petroglyphs are believed to have been created by the Cherokee people, although their exact origin and meaning remain uncertain. Judaculla rock is known for its large central design, an irregular shape that resembles a human figure, with sweeping lines extending outward, almost like the rays of the sun. Surrounding this central figure are a series of smaller, intricate markings, some of which appear to resemble animals or footprints, while others seem to suggest a more cosmic or celestial significance. The rock itself has been dated to around 1000 BC, making it one of the oldest known examples of rock art in the region. Yet, despite its age, the purpose of the carvings and the messages they contain remain shrouded in mystery. The most widely accepted explanation is that the petroglyph was created as a kind of map, possibly an ancient Cherokee ceremonial or navigational guide. Some believe it was used by the Cherokee as a means of marking sacred or significant locations, places where important events occurred, or where spiritual power could be accessed. The patterns on the rock seem to align with natural features of the landscape, and it is thought that the symbols may have been used as part of a larger system of navigation or geographical mapping. However, not all interpretations are so straightforward. The central figure, often described as resembling a man or a god, has been linked to the figure of Judaculla, a mythological being from Cherokee folklore who was said to be a giant with extraordinary strength. According to legend, Judaculla could leap across great distances, and his footsteps left imprints in the rocks that could still be seen by the Cherokee. In one version of the story, Judaculla is said to have carved the petroglyph himself, using his immense power to create the intricate designs in the stone. But could the rock's carvings represent more than just a mythological figure? Could they be a representation of actual knowledge about the land, the stars, or even a map to hidden treasures or sacred sites? What makes the petroglyph even more fascinating is the connection some researchers have drawn between the symbols on the rock and more universal concepts of space and time. The lines radiating out from the central figure, along with the distinctive footprints and animal symbols, have been interpreted by some as a form of early astronomy. Could the Cherokee, long before the arrival of Europeans, have had knowledge of the stars, constellations, and celestial cycles that we still study today? Is it possible that Judaculla rock served as a kind of celestial map, recording important astronomical alignments, or perhaps tracking the movement of the stars and planets across the night sky? There are even more speculative theories that link the markings on Judaculla rock to other ancient rock art from cultures around the world. The idea that there may be a hidden global connection between indigenous peoples' knowledge of the stars and the symbols they left behind has intrigued researchers for years. Could there be a common language of symbols shared by disparate cultures across the globe, stretching back thousands of years? Some even point to the apparent similarity between the petroglyphs at Judaculla rock and those found in other ancient sites, such as the Nazca lines in Peru, or the ancient Sumerian carvings in Mesopotamia, suggesting that some deeper universal knowledge might have once been shared among these cultures. Yet, despite all these theories, the most fundamental question remains unanswered. What was the true purpose of Judaculla rock? Was it merely a map, guiding travelers through the Appalachian landscape, or was it something more profound? An artifact meant to record the very essence of Cherokee beliefs, cosmology, and spiritual practices. Did the markings on the rock symbolize specific events in the Cherokee creation story, or did they represent the way the Cherokee understood their place in the universe? There are, of course, those who argue that we may never know the full meaning of the petroglyphs. Perhaps, like so many other ancient artifacts, Judaculla rock was created to serve a purpose that is now lost to time, its original meaning obscured by centuries of cultural change and the erosion of collective memory. Some have suggested that the petroglyph is not a literal map or guide at all, but instead a symbolic expression of the Cherokee people's connection to the land, the cosmos, and the forces of nature. In this interpretation, the rock itself becomes a living document, a representation of the Cherokee worldview, capturing their deep reverence for the natural world and their understanding of the rhythms of the earth and the sky. There is also the possibility that the rock's message was not meant for us at all. Could it be that Judaculla rock was intended solely for the people who lived in the region at the time, and that its meaning was clear to them, but has become incomprehensible to us because of the passage of time? The Cherokee themselves may have understood the significance of the carvings, just as other indigenous cultures understood the symbolism in their own rock art. In this sense, the petroglyph may be more of a cultural artifact, a piece of a puzzle that has long since been lost, waiting to be rediscovered. As we stand before the weathered surface of Judaculla rock today, the mystery persists. We are left with only fragments of a story that has long since been forgotten, its true meaning lost in the haze of time. The rock speaks to us, but in a language we can only partially understand. Was it a guide to the land, a cosmic map, or a spiritual artifact? The answers may never come, and perhaps that is the true mystery. How such an enigmatic artifact, carved into the stone so many centuries ago, can still evoke wonder and curiosity in us today. And so, as we move further into the depths of history's unsolved mysteries, Judaculla rock stands as a silent reminder of the stories we may never fully grasp. What other secrets lie hidden in the earth, waiting to be uncovered? What other ancient symbols and messages are waiting to speak, if only we could understand their language? As the petroglyphs endure through the ages, we are left to wonder, what remains hidden in the stones, and what will we uncover next in the vast, uncharted landscape of human history? Carolina. Our journey takes us to a quiet stretch of the Taunton River in southeastern Massachusetts, where another rock, weathered by centuries of time, holds a mystery that has defied explanation for nearly 400 years. Known as Dighton Rock, this large, flat stone stands on the banks of the river, its surface etched with a series of strange and complex inscriptions. Over time, these markings have baffled historians, archaeologists, and cryptographers alike. What do these symbols mean? Who carved them, and why? And what secrets does the rock still hold? Dighton Rock is an imposing feature in the landscape. At over 4 meters long and 2 meters high, it rises from the water like a silent witness to the centuries that have passed. Its surface is covered with a collection of carvings, some geometric, others resembling animals, faces, and human figures. The inscriptions are unlike anything else in the region, and their meaning remains one of New England's oldest and most intriguing mysteries. Since the first European settlers arrived in the area, there has been speculation about the origin of the rock and its markings. Early colonialists, including Reverend John Danforth in the 17th century, believed the inscriptions were made by Native Americans. However, as more and more people studied the rock, other theories began to emerge, some more plausible, others more fantastical. The carvings on Dighton Rock are undoubtedly strange. The most distinctive feature of the petroglyphs is the large central design, which appears to depict a humanoid figure holding something that resembles an object or weapon. Surrounding this central figure are a series of abstract symbols and smaller motifs, which have been interpreted in a variety of ways. Some of the markings appear to be animal tracks, others resemble boats or other forms of transportation. There are also intricate patterns that some have compared to writing systems, suggesting that the rock might contain an ancient script. The earliest attempts to interpret the rock's markings date back to the 17th century, when European settlers first encountered the stone. At that time, some colonists believed the carvings were the work of indigenous people in the area. In particular, the local Wampanoag people were thought to have created the petroglyphs as a form of symbolic expression or religious ritual. However, there were problems with this theory. The Wampanoag people did not have a written language, and their art was typically focused on symbols rather than intricate scripts. Additionally, many of the markings on the rock appeared to be far more complex than what was known of Native American rock art at the time. As interest in the Dighton Rock inscriptions grew, so did the range of interpretations. Some scholars began to suggest that the carvings were not Native American in origin at all, but instead the work of European explorers or even ancient seafaring cultures. One theory, which gained traction in the 19th century, was that the inscriptions were made by the Norsemen, Vikings, who had reached North America long before Columbus. Proponents of this theory pointed to the similarities between the rock's carvings and the runic alphabet used by the Norse, suggesting that the inscriptions were the work of Viking explorers who visited the region around the year 1000 AD. However, despite this compelling argument, there is no direct evidence of Viking settlement in the area, and the runic theory has been largely dismissed by mainstream scholars. Still, the idea that the Dighton rock inscriptions might have been made by other ancient, possibly lost cultures continues to capture the imagination of those who believe in the existence of forgotten civilizations. Could the symbols on the rock be the remnants of a pre-Columbian culture that never left any other traces of its existence? In the early 20th century, a new theory emerged. The possibility that the carvings were not made by humans at all but were instead a natural phenomenon. Some geologists propose that the patterns on the rock were simply the result of natural erosion, with wind and water carving the stone in ways that resembled human-made designs. However, this explanation has been largely rejected by experts, as the shapes on the rock are too uniform and purposeful to be entirely the result of natural forces. In recent decades, the theory that has gained the most traction is that the markings on Dighton rock represent a form of ancient writing, a script that predates known writing systems in the Americas. This theory suggests that the carvings might have been created by a lost civilization that had a sophisticated system of communication. Some have compared the rock's symbols to the writing systems of ancient cultures, such as the Egyptians, Sumerians, or even the Mayans, suggesting that there may have been a shared cultural or technological exchange between these distant peoples. However, no conclusive evidence has been found to support this idea, and it remains speculative. One of the most fascinating aspects of Dighton rock is the possibility that the symbols might represent a map, a guide to navigating the local landscape, or perhaps even a celestial map tracking the movement of the stars or planets. Some have suggested that the carvings were created by an ancient maritime culture, and that the symbols represent a record of voyages or trade routes. Could the rock's markings be part of an ancient tradition of navigation, recorded in a way that was meant to be understood only by those who knew how to read it? If so, what knowledge might have been passed down through these symbols, knowledge that has since been lost to history? Despite these many theories, the true meaning of the Dighton rock inscriptions remains a mystery. Over the years, numerous attempts have been made to decode the carvings, but none have succeeded in providing a definitive translation. Some researchers have even used modern technology, including digital imaging and 3D modeling, to try to gain new insights into the markings, but the results have been inconclusive. Perhaps the most frustrating aspect of the mystery is that, despite the countless hours of study and analysis, the rock still refuses to yield its secrets. One of the most compelling aspects of the Dighton rock mystery is the possibility that it holds the key to understanding a lost chapter of human history, a chapter that we have yet to uncover. Could the carvings be evidence of a once thriving civilization whose language, culture, and knowledge were lost over time? Or are they simply the remnants of a forgotten ritual or practice, the meaning of which has been obscured by the passage of centuries? As we stand before the rock today, its surface worn smooth by the ravages of time, we are reminded of the many unanswered questions that linger in the world of ancient history. What was the purpose of the Dighton rock inscriptions? Who carved them and why? And what knowledge, if any, do the markings encode? These are questions that have yet to be answered, and perhaps never will be. But as the mystery persists, the rock remains a silent witness to a time long past, one that still haunts us with its secrets and its enigmas. We leave behind the enigmatic carvings of Dighton rock, but our journey into the heart of ancient mysteries takes us to a different corner of the world, deep in the lush landscapes of Brazil. Here, hidden in plain sight, stands Pedro da Gávea, an imposing granite peak that towers over the city of Rio de Janeiro. From its summit, the vast panorama of the city, the coastline, and the surrounding rainforest stretches out, a breathtaking view that has captivated visitors for centuries. But it is not just the natural beauty of Pedro da Gavia that draws attention. On its massive rock face, there exists an inscription, an ancient carving that has sparked intense debate, speculation, and intrigue. What could it mean, and who was responsible for its creation? Known as the face of the emperor, the carving is located on a sheer section of the rock, a vast, sloping surface visible to anyone who gazes up from the base of the mountain. The face, weathered and partially obscured by time, appears to resemble a human visage, with large, expressive eyes, a prominent nose, and an enigmatic mouth. Some have likened it to the face of an ancient ruler or deity. But despite its obvious presence and striking features, the origins of the carving remain a mystery that has baffled archaeologists, historians, and geologists alike. The rock itself is part of a mountain ridge that forms part of the Serra do Mar range, rising abruptly from the surrounding landscape. It is made of granite and has an imposing height, standing 842 meters, 2,762 feet, above sea level. The face is carved into the rock's vertical surface, and its features are unmistakable to those who look closely. But it's not just the face itself that is puzzling. It is the entire context in which the carving exists. Pedro da Gavia has been the subject of numerous studies, with many theories suggesting that it may have been a site of cultural or spiritual significance long before the arrival of the Portuguese in the 16th century. The mystery of the carving deepens when you consider the age and nature of the stone. The exact dating of the carving remains elusive, but it is believed to be thousands of years old, predating European contact with the Americas. But if the carving is indeed so old, who could have made it? And why? Some researchers suggest that the face is the work of the indigenous Tupi-Guarani people who inhabited the region long before the Portuguese arrived. The Tupi were known to create petroglyphs and other forms of rock art, though no other examples of similar carvings have been found in the immediate vicinity of Pedro da Gavia. If it was created by the Tupi, could this carving represent an important figure in their mythology or religion? Perhaps a god or ancestor, whose image was etched into the stone as a means of honoring or commemorating them. Others have proposed a more speculative theory, that the carving was made by an entirely different, unknown culture, a long-lost civilization whose existence predates recorded history. This theory is fueled in part by the sheer scale of the carving, which is far more elaborate than typical indigenous rock art in the Americas. Some have pointed to the precision and size of the face, suggesting that it could have been made by a culture with advanced knowledge of stone carving techniques and even astronomical or mathematical knowledge. One of the more intriguing theories posits that the carving was created by ancient Phoenician or Egyptian explorers long before the arrival of Columbus. According to this theory, the Phoenicians, known for their seafaring abilities, may have reached the Americas, leaving behind evidence of their travels in the form of carvings like the one at Pedro da Gavia. Advocates of this theory point to the face's features, which some claim resemble depictions of pharaohs or other ancient Mediterranean rulers. But is this theory grounded in fact, or is it simply the product of modern-day imagination and a desire to connect the distant dots of ancient civilizations? The most famous, albeit far more speculative, theory comes from the world of conspiracy and lost civilizations. Some believe that the face is the product of an even more ancient and advanced culture, one that might have been capable of creating monumental structures and carvings on a scale that would rival the Egyptians or the Mayans. These theorists suggest that the carving at Pedro da Gavia could be a remnant of a lost civilization, perhaps one that was destroyed in a cataclysmic event and erased from history, its knowledge and achievements lost to time. The face of the emperor could, in this interpretation, be an artifact of a culture whose legacy has been wiped from the collective memory of mankind. Another facet of the Pedro da Gavia mystery lies in the context of the carving's placement. Some researchers point to the fact that the rock face, on which the carving is located, appears to align with specific astronomical or geographical features of the region. Could it be that the rock was used as a kind of ancient observatory or ceremonial site, with the carving representing a ruler or deity connected to celestial events? The mountain itself, after all, has long been associated with sacred practices and rituals by indigenous groups and modern-day Brazilians alike. Could the face of the emperor be a symbol of spiritual or cosmic significance, intended to communicate the power of an ancient civilization in harmony with the natural world? Despite all these theories, however, there is no conclusive evidence to support any one interpretation of the carving's origins. While some believe it to be a natural formation, a trick of the light and shadows that creates an illusion of a human face, most experts agree that the carvings are deliberate. But who made them, and when? Was it the work of indigenous people who lived in the region thousands of years ago? Or does the carving represent something far more ancient, something lost to time? The age of the carving remains a key point of contention. Geological studies of Pedro da Gavia suggest that the rock formation itself is between 600 and 700 million years old, but this does not necessarily correlate with the age of the carving, which some believe could date back much further, perhaps even to a time when the landscape was vastly different, before the natural forces of erosion wore away the rock's surface. If this is the case, then it raises further questions. If the face was carved thousands of years ago, who possessed the advanced knowledge and skill to carve such a detailed and large-scale image into solid granite? The mystery of the face of the emperor at Pedro da Gavia, like so many other ancient enigmas, offers more questions than answers. Is it the work of an ancient civilization, lost to history and covered by time? Or is it the product of a much older, more universal cultural phenomenon, an early expression of humankind's need to memorialize its rulers, gods, or heroes in stone? Perhaps it is a blend of both, a symbol of the confluence of ancient cultures, ideas, and spiritual practices that spanned vast distances and time periods. As we reflect on the carving, it's impossible not to wonder, what other mysteries lie hidden in the ancient landscape, waiting to be uncovered? What stories are carved into the rocks of the world, lost beneath layers of time and history, only to be revealed when we are ready to understand them? The face carved into the stone of Pedro da Gavia continues to stare out into the vast Brazilian landscape, holding its secrets close and challenging us to look deeper into the past. Our journey now carries us to the Mediterranean island of Sardinia, where beneath the serene landscape lies an ancient enigma, a pyramid-like structure that has puzzled archaeologists for centuries. This is Monte de Codi, a site that stands out not only because of its unusual shape, but because it raises questions about the lost cultures of the ancient world, their knowledge, and their rituals. Perched just outside the small town of Sassari, this ancient site is a place where the past intersects with the present in the most mysterious of ways. Monte de Codi is a curious sight to behold. Unlike the typical pyramids or ziggurats found in other parts of the world, this structure is a type of stepped platform, a vast trapezoidal pyramid made from massive stone blocks that rises 6 meters, about 20 feet, into the air. Its smooth, wide steps, worn over thousands of years, lead to a flat summit, from which one can overlook the surrounding plains and hills. At first glance, it might appear as though the pyramid was built for ceremonial purposes, a temple to an unknown god or a place of astronomical significance. But as is often the case with ancient monuments, there is more to the story, far more than meets the eye. The site itself dates back to the Neolithic period, approximately 4,000 years ago, and its connection to ancient Sardinian culture has been the subject of intense debate. The pyramid is surrounded by a series of other structures, stone circles, burial mounds, and other megalithic formations, that seem to suggest that Monte de Codi was part of a larger ceremonial complex. But despite its undeniable significance, the purpose of the pyramid and its creators remain elusive. Who were the people who built it, and why? The most widely accepted theory is that the Monte de Codi pyramid was constructed by the ancient Ozieri culture, a society that flourished on Sardinia during the Neolithic period. This theory holds that the pyramid was a place of religious or ritualistic significance, possibly used for offerings, sacrifices, or other ceremonial activities. The structure is even thought to resemble a ziggurat, a type of stepped temple common in Mesopotamia, leading some to suggest that there might have been cultural or trade connections between the ancient peoples of Sardinia and those of the Fertile Crescent. This connection to the broader ancient world raises the question, could Monte de Codi have been a place where the people of Sardinia shared knowledge with other advanced civilizations? The Ozieri culture is known to have had sophisticated knowledge of agriculture, pottery, and metallurgy. But did they also have astronomical knowledge, perhaps using the pyramid as a tool to track celestial events like the solstices or equinoxes? Some researchers suggest that the structure could have been aligned with particular stars or constellations, making it a kind of primitive observatory. If this were true, it would raise an intriguing question. How did such knowledge spread across different regions of the ancient world? While these ideas are compelling, there are several factors that make Monte de Codi even more mysterious. One of the most intriguing features of the site is its altar-like structure, which is located at the summit of the pyramid. This small, flat platform is thought to have been used for sacrifices, but the nature of these offerings is still unknown. What did the people of the Ozieri culture offer to their gods? And why did they choose this particular site for their ceremonies? Some speculate that the altar was used for fire rituals, as traces of charcoal and ash have been found nearby. Others believe that the pyramid may have served as a place for astronomical rites, where the movements of the sun, moon, and stars were charted. However, even more unsettling is the possibility that Monte de Codi was not built by the Ozieri people at all. While the Ozieri culture is the most commonly associated with the site, some theories suggest that the pyramid could have been constructed by an entirely different, yet unknown civilization, one that predates the Ozieri or existed simultaneously alongside them. This theory has gained some traction due to the unusual design of the structure, which does not appear to fit with the architectural styles of other known Neolithic or Bronze Age civilizations in the Mediterranean. Could Monte de Codi be evidence of a lost civilization, one that has left no other trace of its existence? The theory of a pre-Ozieri civilization is supported by the unusual placement of the site. Unlike other megalithic structures found in the Mediterranean, which are often built along coastlines or near water sources, Monte de Codi is located on a hilltop, far from the sea. This odd location has led some to wonder whether the pyramid was built by a society that had different customs or beliefs, perhaps a culture that placed greater importance on land and celestial alignments than on proximity to water. Despite these questions, the theory that Monte de Codi was created by the Ozieri culture remains the most widely accepted. However, there is still much that remains unexplained about the site. One of the most perplexing aspects of the pyramid is its construction technique. The blocks used to build the structure are massive, some weighing several tons. Yet there is no evidence that the Ozieri people had the advanced tools or machinery required to move such heavy stones. Could they have had access to technologies that have since been lost to history? Or were there techniques employed that we simply do not understand today? Even more unsettling is the possibility that the purpose of the pyramid was not purely religious, but had a more practical or societal function. Could it have been used as a central gathering place for the community, a place where leaders convened or where important decisions were made? Could the altar at the top of the pyramid have served a more political role, with offerings made not to gods, but to ancestors or figures of authority? As we stand before the pyramid today, it is difficult not to imagine the people who built it. What did they believe? What did they see in the night sky? What rituals and ceremonies were carried out on the flat summit of Monte Ducati as the sun set behind the hills and the stars began to appear? Monte Ducati remains one of Sardinia's most enduring and mysterious landmarks, a testament to a long-lost civilization whose full story has yet to be told. Its pyramidal structure, its strange altar, and its obscure origins continue to elude our understanding. Was it a ceremonial site, an astronomical observatory, or the relic of a civilization that left no other trace? What did the builders of Monte Ducati know that we no longer do? And could the answers to these questions lie hidden in the stones, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves? As we leave the mystery of the Monte Ducati pyramid behind, we are reminded of the many unanswered questions that still linger in the ancient world. It is a world filled with lost knowledge, forgotten cultures, and monuments that refuse to surrender their secrets. And perhaps, in the end, that is the greatest mystery of all, what remains hidden in the past, waiting to be discovered when the time is right. As we continue our journey through history's most bizarre and unexplainable mysteries, we now venture beneath the waves, to a place where the line between myth and reality blurs in the murky depths of the sea. Off the southern coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island lies an underwater structure, enigmatic and fascinating, that has confounded experts and intrigued explorers for decades. This is the site of the Yonaguni submerged stone circles, an ancient formation that has captured the imagination of those who've seen it. What lies beneath these waters? Is it the product of human hands, or simply the natural work of the ocean's relentless currents? Discovered in 1985 by a local diver named Kihachiro Aratake, the Yonaguni Formation is located about 25 meters underwater, near the Yonaguni Peninsula. The stone structure seems to rise from the seafloor like a series of terraced steps, a massive monolith that stretches nearly 50 meters in length and 20 meters in width. But it is not just the sheer size of the formation that draws attention. What truly sets Yonaguni apart are its sharp geometric shapes, right angles, stair-like terraces, and smooth edges that seem almost too precise to be the random workings of nature. The site consists of a series of flat platforms, steep steps, and large stone structures, some of which appear to be arranged in a pattern. At first glance, the stone formation seems to resemble a man-made pyramid or ziggurat, though one vastly different from anything else found in the world. Some of the stones are said to resemble the steps of an ancient temple, and others have large, smooth surfaces that look intentionally carved. As one dives deeper into the area, the sense of scale and design becomes ever more striking. What could have caused such an intricate formation to appear here, so far from any known civilization? The most accepted explanation for the Yonaguni stone circles is that they are the result of natural geological forces. The rock formations, many scientists argue, are a product of tectonic movement and erosion, formed over thousands of years by the powerful forces of water and seismic activity. In this theory, the sharp angles, terraces, and seemingly carved features are nothing more than the result of millions of years of natural erosion, sculpting the stone in ways that seem far too deliberate to be anything but man-made. The movement of tectonic plates, combined with the continuous battering of the ocean, could explain the formation of such an extraordinary structure, they argue. However, there are still many who remain unconvinced by this natural explanation, believing that the structure could be the remnants of an ancient man-made civilization, long lost to history. Some theorists suggest that the Yonaguni stone circles are the remains of a vast submerged city, possibly built by a sophisticated culture thousands of years ago. The possibility that this structure is a human-made artifact has sparked a wide range of theories about the origin of the site. Could this be the remains of a forgotten civilization? an ancient society that existed long before the rise of known ancient cultures like Mesopotamia or Egypt. The very idea of a sunken city, lost beneath the sea for millennia, is a powerful and haunting image, suggesting a civilization whose knowledge and achievements were swept away by some cataclysmic event, such as a great flood or a seismic disaster. The possibility of a lost civilization is further supported by the age of the structure. The Yonaguni stone circles are thought to date back to around 10,000 years ago, a time when the region's sea levels were much lower than they are today. If this theory holds, then it would mean that the stone structure existed at a time when the surrounding land was above water, and what we see now is the submerged remnant of a society that once flourished. This would make the Yonaguni site one of the oldest man-made structures ever discovered, potentially predating the rise of known civilizations by thousands of years. It raises a staggering question. Could this be the trace of a civilization that existed long before the Egyptians, the Sumerians, and the Indus Valley people? Did the builders of Yonaguni possess knowledge that was so advanced that they were capable of creating a monumental structure to last through the ages, only for it to eventually succumb to the rising seas? Another intriguing aspect of the site is the mysterious carvings found on some of the stone surfaces. These markings, resembling petroglyphs, are faint and difficult to interpret, but they have sparked speculation about their meaning. Could they be part of an ancient script? Or perhaps the markings were created for ceremonial purposes, similar to the carvings found at other ancient megalithic sites around the world. The carvings have prompted some to ask whether the Yonaguni site was more than just an architectural wonder. Was it a center of religious or astronomical significance? A site of cosmic alignment, as some have suggested? Could the placement of the stones be tied to the stars, marking the passage of time or perhaps tracking the movement of celestial bodies, as was the case with many ancient stone structures? The debate surrounding the Yonaguni stone circles continues to divide scholars, with some rejecting the idea that it is anything other than a natural formation, while others argue that the features at the site are too deliberate and too symmetrical to be the result of erosion alone. But there is one thing that all theories agree on. The Yonaguni site is a remarkable place, one that remains shrouded in mystery. Whether it is the product of natural forces or the remnants of an ancient civilization, the stone circles of Yonaguni are a testament to the incredible forces of nature and the enigmatic past of humanity. What is certain, however, is that the Yonaguni stone circles will continue to captivate the imagination of those who study them. With each passing year, new explorations are made, and new theories emerge about what the site could have been. Was it an ancient city, lost to the sea and forgotten by history? Was it a ceremonial center, built by an unknown civilization to track the movements of the stars or honor the gods? Or is it simply the result of natural geological processes, an extraordinary formation shaped by the Earth's forces over millennia? As we reflect on the mystery of the Yonaguni stone circles, one thing becomes clear. The answers to these questions may remain just out of reach, waiting for the right discovery or insight to bring them into the light. For now, the submerged stones of Yonaguni continue to stand silently beneath the waves, holding their secrets close, as they have for thousands of years. And perhaps, in time, we may uncover more of the mysteries that lie hidden beneath the ocean's surface, waiting to reveal themselves when the time is right. As we continue our exploration of the world's most bizarre mysteries, we venture deep into the heart of the Amazon rainforest, where a discovery has ignited the imaginations of archaeologists, explorers, and theorists alike. The Paraguay pyramids of the Amazon, a cluster of structures unlike anything else found in the dense, humid jungle, hold secrets that continue to elude our understanding. Surrounded by the vast expanse of untouched forest, these formations raise more questions than answers. Are they natural formations shaped by the Earth's forces? Or are they man-made structures left behind by an ancient civilization? And if they were indeed built by humans, who were the people responsible? And what purpose did these enigmatic pyramids serve? The Petroglyph pyramids are located in the remote regions of the Brazilian Amazon, specifically in the state of Acre, near the border with Peru. These structures, often referred to as pyramids due to their shape, are perched atop steep, forested hillsides, their outlines barely visible from the jungle floor. At first glance, they might seem like natural formations, large, jagged hills that rise out of the landscape with a rough, pyramid-like shape. But as you draw closer, certain details begin to emerge that suggest something far more deliberate. The largest of these pyramidal structures is more than 80 meters, roughly 260 feet, in length, with a near-perfect triangular shape that contrasts sharply with the irregular hills around it. Some sections of the structure are made of large, smooth stones that appear to have been carefully placed, while others exhibit signs of mortar that seem to suggest a level of construction that is not easily explained. The pyramids are aligned with remarkable precision, pointing towards the cardinal directions. In many ways, they resemble the step pyramids found in Mesoamerica, yet they are located on the opposite side of the continent, in the heart of the Amazon, far from the civilizations that built the Great Pyramids of Teotihuacan or the Maya. The origins of the Petroglyph pyramids are shrouded in mystery. Most mainstream scholars argue that the structures are simply the result of erosion and natural geological processes, rock formations that just happen to resemble man-made pyramids. According to this theory, the forest's constant shifting of soil, coupled with millions of years of natural weathering, has shaped the stones into pyramid-like shapes. But this theory doesn't sit well with everyone, especially those who have examined the site more closely. Some researchers believe that the pyramids were constructed by an ancient civilization, one far older than anything we have yet to discover. The possibility that the people of the Amazon, often thought of as isolated tribes, may have had the knowledge and capability to build such monumental structures is a powerful and tantalizing idea. Could this have been an ancient civilization, now lost to time, that once inhabited the dense jungles of South America? A civilization whose achievements were forgotten as the rainforest reclaimed the land? To add to the intrigue, a number of unusual artifacts have been discovered around the Petroglyph pyramids: stone tools, pottery shards, and even pieces of artwork that suggest the presence of a sophisticated culture. One of the most curious findings is a series of carved stone tablets that were uncovered near the base of the pyramids. These tablets feature symbols and geometric patterns that have not been seen in any other known culture of the Americas. Could they represent a written language, or perhaps a system of knowledge passed down through generations? What were the people of Petroglyph trying to convey through these mysterious carvings? The scale of the pyramid-like structures is equally perplexing. Unlike the modest earth mounds and simple stone circles seen in many ancient cultures, the Petroglyph pyramids seem to have been designed with a clear purpose and architectural intent. They are too large, too structured to be dismissed as mere geological oddities. It is almost as though someone was trying to send a message, creating monumental works that could withstand the test of time. But who were they trying to impress or communicate with? The people who constructed the pyramids would have needed an immense amount of resources and manpower to build them, suggesting that they were part of a much larger civilization that had the means to organize and execute such ambitious projects. As we dive deeper into the mystery of the Petroglyph pyramids, we come to an even more intriguing possibility. These structures could be far older than previously thought. Some theories suggest that the pyramids are not simply remnants of the pre-Columbian cultures of South America, such as the Incas or the Arawaks, but that they predate these known civilizations by millennia. In this case, the Petroglyph pyramids could be the remnants of a civilization that existed during the Pleistocene, a time when the Amazon basin may have been home to a different set of people, with their own knowledge of construction, astronomy, and engineering. If this theory is true, it would rewrite the history of South America, challenging the conventional narrative that ties civilization to the ancient cultures of Mesoamerica and the Andes. Another line of speculation is that the Paratuari pyramids might not have been built by any human civilization at all. Could they have been constructed by some other force, possibly even extraterrestrial visitors? While this theory might sound far-fetched to some, it's a question that has been posed by those who point to the unusual precision of the stones and the apparent alignment of the structures. Could beings from another world have left their mark on Earth, constructing these pyramids as a way to communicate their presence, or perhaps to serve as markers of something greater than we can yet comprehend? While the extraterrestrial theory may seem extreme, it highlights the deep fascination that the Paratuari pyramids continue to evoke. The idea that these structures could have been constructed for purposes we cannot yet fathom, be it for religious, astronomical, or other unknown reasons, remains a compelling part of the mystery. What was the significance of these structures to the people who built them? Were they created to honor the gods? Did they serve as markers in some forgotten cosmic ritual? Or were they simply the centerpieces of a now lost civilization that worshipped the very earth beneath their feet? Despite all the theories and speculation, the mystery of the Paratuari pyramids remains unsolved. The jungle around them has obscured the true extent of the site, and many of the details of the structures have been lost over time, swallowed by the encroaching forest. Attempts to study the site have been hampered by the rugged terrain, and there is still much about the pyramids that remains unknown. As researchers continue to explore the site, it is clear that the answers are not easily found. The more they uncover, the more questions seem to arise. Could the Paratuari pyramids be the remnants of an ancient civilization whose achievements were erased by the ravages of time and nature? Or could they be the work of a people whose knowledge and understanding of the world was so advanced that they left behind monumental structures shrouded in mystery? Or perhaps, as some suggest, the pyramids are part of a larger puzzle, one that stretches beyond the bounds of human history, a mystery that we may never fully understand. As we stand at the edge of the rainforest, contemplating the secrets held within the earth and the stone, we are reminded that the past is never as simple as it seems. What remains hidden in the shadows of the Amazon's dense green canopy? What other mysteries may yet be uncovered in this vast, untamed wilderness? The Paratuari pyramids are just one of many enigmatic structures waiting to be understood, an enduring mystery that continues to captivate and challenge our understanding of ancient history. As we continue to unravel the layers of history's most intriguing and unexplained mysteries, we now turn our attention to a lesser-known, yet equally enigmatic site tucked away in the arid expanses of Peru. In the Pisco Valley, amidst the vastness of the desert, lies a puzzling formation, one that has intrigued archaeologists, historians, and adventurers alike for decades. Known as the Band of Holes, this vast array of nearly 5,000 small holes carved into the desert floor stretches across an area of roughly 13 kilometers. It is a site that has puzzled scholars ever since its discovery, and though much has been speculated, the true purpose and origin of the holes remain largely unknown. The Pisco Valley itself, an area characterized by harsh desert landscapes and dry, windswept plains, is home to many ancient sites, including the Nazca Lines, a famous set of geoglyphs that continue to capture the world's imagination. The Band of Holes, however, stands apart from these more widely recognized landmarks. Unlike the precise geometric patterns of the Nazca Lines, the Band of Holes appears to be a scattered collection of uniformly spaced depressions, each one measuring roughly 30 centimeters in diameter and extending about 10 centimeters deep into the earth. These holes are so consistent in their size and placement that they appear to have been deliberately created, not by natural forces, but by human hands. Yet the question remains, why? The Band of Holes was first identified in the 1930s, though it was not until the 1990s that serious archaeological attention was given to the site. The holes are primarily concentrated in the Pisco Valley region, though they extend over a vast stretch of desert, some of them intersecting with other ancient structures and archaeological sites, including the well-known Cahuachi Pyramids, an ancient ceremonial center linked to the Nazca culture. However, the proximity to other sites has not helped to clarify the purpose of the Band of Holes. No inscriptions, no clear markings, and no artifacts have been found at the site to offer more definitive answers. What purpose did these holes serve, and why were they created in such a vast, seemingly inhospitable landscape? The first major theory proposed by archaeologists suggests that the holes may have been used for irrigation. In this interpretation, the depressions were thought to be a form of early farming technique used to channel water across the arid desert and provide a way to cultivate crops in the region. Ancient Peruvian cultures, including the Nazca and the Paracas, were known to be highly skilled in water management, creating intricate aqueducts and irrigation systems to support their agricultural practices. The idea that the Band of Holes could have been part of such a system makes sense, especially considering the fact that some of the depressions are located near ancient riverbeds and areas where water would have been more readily available. However, while this theory is compelling, it does not fully explain the unique features of the site. The holes are spaced with remarkable precision, and their alignment does not appear to follow any obvious pattern that would suggest an irrigation network. Furthermore, the sheer scale of the Band of Holes, spanning over several kilometers, raises further questions. Was such a large and complex network really necessary for something as simple as irrigation, especially when the region already possessed more direct and efficient methods of water collection? Some archaeologists have proposed that the holes may have been used for ritual or ceremonial purposes. The connection between the Pisco Valley and the Nazca culture, with its rich tradition of ritualistic practices and complex cosmology, makes this theory especially intriguing. The Nazca lines, for example, are thought to have had a religious or astronomical function, perhaps related to the worship of the gods or the movement of celestial bodies. Could the Band of Holes serve a similar purpose? Some have speculated that the holes might have been markers for ancient ceremonial paths, or used to create a ritualistic space, aligning with significant celestial events such as solstices or eclipses. In this theory, the holes could have been part of a much larger, complex ritual landscape, designed to align with astronomical phenomena. It's possible that the holes were used as part of a calendar system or as markers for important dates in the religious cycle. In this sense, the holes might represent a symbolic connection between the earthly and the divine, a physical manifestation of the sacred relationship between the land and the heavens. This theory is particularly supported by the presence of nearby archaeological sites, such as the Cahuachi Pyramids, which are believed to have been used for ceremonial purposes. But even if we accept the idea of the Band of Holes as a ceremonial site, there are still more questions than answers. Why would the ancient builders have chosen such an unusual and difficult location? The desert is inhospitable, with little water and harsh conditions. What could have compelled people to construct such a vast network of holes in a place that seems so remote and devoid of resources? As with many ancient sites, some have proposed more fringe theories, suggesting that the Band of Holes may be the remnants of an unknown or lost civilization, one far older than the Nazca or Paracas cultures. Could this be evidence of a forgotten society that possessed advanced knowledge and skills, possibly even surpassing what is known about the ancient cultures of the Americas? The precision with which the holes are spaced and the scale of the site might suggest a level of planning and organization that exceeds what was typical of ancient civilizations in the region. Some even point to the possibility of extraterrestrial involvement. While this might sound far-fetched to some, theories involving ancient aliens have long been proposed to explain the inexplicable. Could these holes have been created by visitors from another world using technologies far beyond our current understanding? The symmetry and precision of the holes, coupled with their placement in the desolate desert, could be seen as evidence of a greater intelligence at work, one that we have yet to fully comprehend. Whatever the true purpose behind the band of holes, what remains clear is that it is an enigmatic site that defies simple explanation. Over the years, several archaeological expeditions have attempted to uncover its secrets, but so far no conclusive answers have emerged. There are no written records or clear inscriptions to shed light on the origin of the holes, and the vastness of the desert means that much of the site remains unexplored. Every new discovery only leads to more questions. Why were the holes constructed in such a vast, barren landscape? Was the band of holes used for ceremonial purposes, or could they have had a more practical function, such as irrigation or agriculture? And if they were part of a ritual landscape, what was the significance of their precise alignment? Theories abound, but definitive answers remain elusive. The band of holes in the Pisco Valley is just one example of the many ancient mysteries that continue to haunt us. As we stand on the threshold of the unknown, we are reminded that the past is not always as clear-cut as we would like it to be. In places like the Band of Holes, the ancient world speaks to us in riddles and symbols, leaving us to decipher its meaning. What other secrets are buried beneath the sands of time, waiting to be uncovered? Perhaps, in time, we will uncover the true purpose of the Band of Holes. But for now, the mystery remains. And that, perhaps, is the most compelling thing of all. For now, the Band of Holes remains an enigma, one of many ancient sites scattered across the globe that continue to puzzle modern scholars. As we stand before this vast desert monument, we are reminded that the ancient world was not always as clear-cut as we might like it to be. In places like the Band of Holes, the past speaks to us through riddles and symbols, its meaning obscured by the passage of time. And while we may never fully decipher its purpose, we are left with a sense of wonder and curiosity about what else remains buried beneath the sands of history. The Band of Holes is not just a physical structure. It is a symbol of the unknown, of the mysteries that still lie hidden in the world, waiting to be discovered. Perhaps one day, through further excavation and research, we will unlock the secrets of this desert monument. Until then, it remains a reminder that not all mysteries have clear answers, and that some of the most compelling aspects of our past are those that resist explanation. What other truths are buried in the earth, waiting to be unearthed? What other ancient messages have yet to be uncovered, lost to time but not to history? The Band of Holes may not have revealed all its secrets, but it challenges us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to keep seeking the mysteries of the past that are just beyond our reach. As we venture further into the heart of ancient mysteries, we now turn our attention to a place of striking silence and intrigue, an isolated desert in the vastness of Saudi Arabia. In the arid expanse of the Nafud Desert lies an extraordinary stone formation that has baffled researchers and observers for centuries, the Al-Nasla Split Megalith. This towering structure, with its remarkable, perfectly straight cleft down the middle, appears to have been split in two with almost unnatural precision. Its sheer size, the symmetry of its split, and the fact that it stands alone in an otherwise barren landscape have prompted questions that remain unanswered to this day. The Al-Nasla Split Megalith stands as an enigmatic monument, rising about 7 meters, 23 feet, tall and weighing an estimated 60 tons. The most striking feature of the stone is its clean, vertical fissure running down its center, which is so perfectly straight it appears to have been carved deliberately. The crack is sharp, angular, and perfectly aligned, cutting the massive stone into two halves, yet there are no clear signs of how such a feat might have been achieved using the tools available to ancient civilizations. The idea that this monolith was split by natural forces, such as earthquakes, erosion, or weathering, seems improbable given the level of precision involved in the fissure. The perfectness of the split, in fact, suggests something far more deliberate, and thus, the mystery only deepens. The Al-Nasla split megalith is part of a larger complex of ancient petroglyphs and rock formations scattered across the region. It is located in Al-Ula, an area in northwestern Saudi Arabia, known for its unique rock formations, ancient carvings, and the remains of long-forgotten civilizations. Nearby, you'll find the ruins of the Nabatean kingdom, an ancient civilization whose people once controlled important trade routes in the Arabian Peninsula. The Nabateans are most famous for their capital city, Petra in present-day Jordan, a place that, like Al-Nasla, holds its own set of mysteries. However, the Al-Nasla stone, in its solitary, immense presence, has managed to draw attention in a way that few other structures in the region have. What is it about this split rock that has fascinated so many? How did it come to be, and what purpose did it serve? Is it a naturally occurring formation, a product of the Earth's movements over millennia? Or was it the work of an ancient civilization with knowledge and tools far more advanced than we can imagine? Theories regarding the creation of the Al-Nasla split megalith are varied, and the debate about how it was split and why it was split has been ongoing for centuries. One of the most commonly accepted explanations suggests that the stone was split by natural geological processes, specifically by a combination of erosion, weathering, and thermal expansion. Over the course of centuries, extreme temperature fluctuations in the desert could cause the stone to crack along its natural lines of weakness, eventually creating the split we see today. This theory holds some merit, especially considering that similar natural splits can be found in other parts of the world, though they are often less symmetrical or dramatic. But then there's the problem of the stone's perfect symmetry. The alignment of the crack is so straight, and the edges of the fissure are so uniform that it seems more likely to have been deliberately shaped. Could the ancient people who lived in this area have had the tools necessary to split such a massive stone with such precision? Some suggest that advanced ancient technology, perhaps something we've yet to discover or fully understand, could have been responsible for creating the split. This raises the question, was this monolith intentionally split, and if so, why? Another theory suggests that the Al-Nasla split megalith may have served a symbolic or ritualistic purpose. The rock's location in a remote desert valley could indicate that it was used for ceremonial or religious purposes. In ancient cultures, monoliths and large stone formations were often used to mark sacred places or as symbolic representations of gods or celestial forces. The Nabateans, for example, are known for their elaborate tombs and monuments, and their religion was closely tied to astronomy, with many of their structures aligning with the movement of the stars. Could the split stone have served as a marker of some celestial event, such as a solstice or an eclipse, which would have been of great significance to the people who once lived here? Perhaps the split stone was a means of connecting the heavens to the earth, an ancient monument to the forces of nature. For some, the idea that the Al-Nasla stone may have been intentionally split to serve as an astronomical or ritual marker leads to more speculative possibilities. Could the stone be a cosmic marker, an ancient attempt to align the earth with the stars? There are other ancient sites around the world, such as Stonehenge in England or the Great Pyramids of Giza in Egypt, that were built with celestial alignments in mind. Could this stone, positioned as it is in the middle of a vast desert, have been part of a larger network of stone monuments designed to track the heavens, a message from an advanced civilization trying to reach out to the cosmos? Could there be more such structures hidden in the desert, waiting to be uncovered? Adding another layer of intrigue are the strange carvings and petroglyphs found in the vicinity of the Al-Nasla split megalith. Similar symbols and markings can be found on other rocks and structures in the surrounding region, suggesting a complex network of ancient symbolism. Some of these symbols appear to resemble representations of stars, constellations, and celestial bodies, though they have not been conclusively deciphered. Could the symbolism found here be directly tied to the alignment of the stone, reinforcing the idea that the rock may have served a greater cosmological or astronomical purpose? Of course, there are more speculative theories that venture into the realm of the extraordinary. Some have suggested that the Al-Nazlaya split megalith could be the result of a lost ancient technology, a tool or energy source that we have yet to understand. Could it be a remnant of a forgotten civilization, whose knowledge of the Earth's forces and celestial movements surpassed anything we know today? Or, more controversially, could it be evidence of extraterrestrial involvement? The straightness of the crack, the symmetry, and the sheer scale of the structure have led some to suggest that this stone is too perfect to have been created by ancient humans alone. Might it be a message, a marker left by beings from another world? Despite all the theories, the true origin of the Al-Nasla split megalith remains a mystery. No definitive evidence exists to confirm whether it was a natural formation, the result of ancient human activity, or something more enigmatic. For now, the stone continues to stand alone in the vastness of the desert, its perfect split silently challenging our understanding of ancient history. What role did the Al-Nasla split megalith play in the lives of those who lived near it? Was it a tool, a marker, a symbol, or something else entirely? Could it have been part of an ancient celestial observatory, designed to help ancient peoples track the stars? Or was it an offering to the gods? Perhaps one day further study and exploration will reveal more about this incredible structure. But until then, it remains an enduring mystery, one of many scattered across the world waiting for answers. What other hidden truths are buried in the sands of time, waiting to be discovered? Beyond the conventional theories, however, there are those who propose more extraordinary ideas. Could the Al-Nasla split megalith be the result of ancient technology far beyond what we know today? The precision of the crack, its straightness, and the apparent symmetry of the stone have led some to speculate that it may have been crafted by a lost civilization that possessed knowledge of energies or forces that we have yet to understand. Was it carved using methods now lost to history? Perhaps even with tools or technology we cannot yet replicate or comprehend? Or, in a more controversial vein, could the stone be evidence of extraterrestrial involvement? Some point to the impossibly perfect nature of the stone's division and its alignment with other nearby sites as possible indicators of a connection to beings from another world. While this theory may seem far-fetched to some, it remains part of the conversation surrounding the site's strange features. As we stand before the Al-Nasla split megalith, it is clear that its true purpose remains elusive. Was it created by ancient human hands, using knowledge and methods now forgotten? Or does its perfect geometry suggest a more mystical or even otherworldly influence? For now, we can only speculate. Perhaps future excavations and technological advances will shed more light on its origins. But for the time being, the stone remains an enduring riddle, one that continues to intrigue those who seek to understand the ancient past. What other messages from the past lie dormant, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. As our understanding of ancient history continues to evolve, we may one day uncover the key to these mysteries. Until then, the desert remains a vast archive, holding its secrets close, and the Al-Nasla split megalith stands as a testament to the unfathomable complexities of ancient knowledge, waiting for us to unlock its mysteries.